Hello everybody, and this is episode 493 of Conversation Street with a special little intro recorded especially for YouTube. How are you doing, everybody? And now what you're about to listen to is 2 episodes of Conversation Street melded together because we had to do something a little bit different this week, didn't we, Gemma?
We did.
We did indeed, because we recorded. We're on holiday at the moment. It's very exciting. We're in Devon at the moment. We're going on holiday with Gemma's parents.
We're not. We're in Dorset.
Dorset. I always get those mixed up. We're in Dorset right now.
We are on the edge of the two.
We're so close. We're so close. We're in scone land anyway, basically. Scone, jam, cream, whatever. We recorded 2 podcasts this week. One after Wednesday's episode of Coronation Street, where we talk about the Monday and the Wednesday episode and made all sorts of predictions about what would happen at the end of Super Soap Week. And then we've just recorded another one where we talk about Friday's episode. We just couldn't do it all together. So for your listening pleasure, we have spliced them both together, not at all seamlessly, but just in case you wonder what's about to grace your ears, we have the first podcast episode, then the second one, and we're very whispery in the second one because we had to record it late at night when Gemma's parents were maybe asleep. So it's going to be a bit weird, but that's what it is, isn't it? That's what you're getting, and hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, here's the first bit of it. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 493 of Conversation Street. You can tell the excitement in my voice as we're recording this, because this is Super Soap Week. It's midweek. We're having to do an early episode, but it's quite cool really, because I am very, very excited about what is happening on Coronation Street at the moment. In case you don't know, I am Michael, and I'm here with Gemma, and she is also, you can hear the excitement in her voice as well. We love it. Gemma, isn't this week's Coronation Street bonkers?
It is bonkers, yeah.
It's utterly nuts, but I'm loving it. And it's been so divisive on social media and everything, hasn't it? So I'm really sorry to everybody that's listening that hated it, but we quite enjoyed it actually, and we're going to be gushing more than Weatherfield sewers today about how much fun it's been.
I can't believe we actually got to see the legendary Weatherfield waterworks.
I know, the Weatherfield waterworks.
After we've been talking about it for years on this show.
They should have had a little carving on it that said like Rana's or something.
Rana was it.
So in case you're wondering why on earth this podcast episode has turned up on your feed midweek, well, you should have been listening earlier, because we did warn you before that we are going away this Friday.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody, would you like our address?
Wait, well, we already said. Nobody knows where we live. We're going away on Friday. We cannot record on Friday night, probably. So we thought we needed to get this out of the way now. And it's quite cool because we're in a bit of a cliffhangery point in the week. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of speculation ahead. Yeah, it's so excited. I'm tripping over my words about what's going to be happening on Friday.
Spoiler alert, no one has died yet.
Nobody has died yet, as far as we can tell. I mean, Jenny... so we're going to get this out now. We are going away with Gemma's parents. We don't think we can record on Friday night. What is it we're staying in? A big old house. A big old house that you said it sleeps 7. I don't know. So we might be able to find, an annex or a wing somewhere that we can record some Friday night reactions.
It's just a house. I didn't rent a castle.
We don't know.
Although the bloody price of it might as well have been.
So anyway, I hope that you're able to listen to this before seeing Friday's episode. Otherwise, it's not really going to fit. But we'll try to keep it short because it's also quite late on Wednesday night.
Yeah, what are you waffling for?
Well, this is the intro to replace the normal intro, because we haven't. I don't even know what episodes we're talking about. I'm so unprepared for today's podcast. Don't know what episodes we're talking about. It's this week's episodes. I haven't got a quiz. I haven't got any other amusing anecdotes about what's been going on in our lives this week. So I think we're just going to crack straight on with street talk, and that's going to be about it for the week. I ain't got any news ready. I ain't got any feedback ready.
Can we get on with it?
We are getting on with it.
Let's talk about what happened on Coronation Street this week, Michael.
So overall,
are you starting on Monday?
Yeah, no, I'll do Mondays. I'm going to preempt it with, I am enjoying it. It's not perfect, is it? There's been bits of criticism that we have aimed at it between ourselves as the week has gone on, mostly revolving around some of the special effects and sound as well. It's a little bit on the silly side, but I think if you've been listening to the podcast long enough that you'll realise that I don't mind it if it's wrapped within good soap and drama and characters that I like.
Need to give 2 disclaimers. Right. Number 1, it's called Coronation Street, and it was advertised with an evil clown on a flyer. If you're expecting Shakespeare, you're barking up the wrong tree. And also, you're also probably the sort of person who, when Shakespeare was new, would have been sitting there going, boo, Macbeth, unrealistic, witches aren't real, rubbish.
Don't say that, because we criticise Coronation Street a lot.
It's supposed to be, I know, but this is exactly what was advertised. Campy, overblown horror, Halloweeny silliness.
It was, but I can utterly and completely understand the people that didn't like it. I don't
It's
bear
fine.
any grudges.
It's fine.
But
there are different... Coronation Street has a range, and sometimes it's very silly and sometimes it's very serious. And if you were expecting it to be very serious, you're definitely not going to have enjoyed this. You would have been wrong-footed, because it was just completely... I mean, neon skeletons and laughing witches.
Sinkholes opening up here, there and everywhere.
It was overblown. But once you see, the thing is, once you start to realise where you are with it, you got to roll with it. Otherwise, you're not going to like it.
Our jaws were dropping multiple occasions, particularly on the second half of Monday's episode. I think when it all really started to kick off, weren't we? And I think once we realised this is what we're letting ourselves in for, we're like, okay, we'll embrace this.
Let's go with it.
And it's definitely different from what I was expecting as well. We'll maybe talk about that. So you said you had 2 points to make.
Yeah, I did.
Sorry.
Second point is, what is a plot hole? I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, there's a plot hole. No way Dev would have done that," or "Here's another plot hole. Why is so and so saying that, or doing this, or going there, or blah blah blah." A plot hole is not a character doing something stupid or illogical or out of character. That's a completely different thing. I just wanted to point out what a plot hole is.
So a plot hole is when something
just illogical or something that doesn't make sense. People acting out of character, you can say perhaps bad writing if you want to level a complaint at it, but people being silly and doing stuff that doesn't make sense is just people being human.
Well, I'm sure
if everybody acted completely perfectly all the time, there would be no TV.
I'm sure that we could find some plot holes if we looked hard enough.
I know, but the people that have said
the
plot holes that I've read, they're not plot holes. They're just people complaining about stuff that they think is silly writing.
Yeah, well, I mean, what
plot hole would be if, like, the gun, like, we never, like, Abby went to ask Tez for a gun and he said, "No, you can't have one," and then she had one out of nowhere. That's a plot hole. Where did the gun come from?
Yeah, I mean, there were certainly some stretches of imagination. And
there were some things that were left out, like for example...
that's handy, Harvey. You got a gun at the end.
For example, yeah, I mean, that's coincidence. There's like bits where we are, as viewers, not been shown something that has led us to a conclusion that was wrong. For example, not actually watching Asha and Dev aghast at the car when really they should have been able to see Ardy crawling out as it blew up.
He was just behind it. It's fine.
I know, but you think you'd kind of rotate yourself.
There were a few bits
I'm just saying.
There were a few bits I thought at the beginning of today's episode where there was a bit of a jump or something, and it's like, oh, something wasn't explained here. Like, the other guy that was helping the Alahans out at the beginning of was he a prison guard or was he a passing driver by?
I think he was one of the prison guards, but
I don't think they established that particularly well enough. And there are a few things. Anyway,
so yeah. I mean, a plot hole is something that's impossible to have happened or doesn't make sense within the internal logic of the show. And I don't think they've done too bad of a job. Nothing is ever going to be perfect, but plot holes and people being silly, two different things. And that's a bit of a pet peeve for me as well, because I think people like to use the word plot hole when they mean something different.
I just thought it was wonderful seeing, for the first time really since, since before the pandemic, we got a full-on stunty, everybody running into each other and crowded into each other and touching each other and grabbing each other and hugging each other and kissing each other and throttling each other, and there were explosions. There was some green screen, believe it or not. It wasn't all actually there, and over the top, overblown ridiculousness that maybe the 60th should have been, and maybe at one point was going to be. I don't know. I loved it. I missed this so much.
we could rewatch the tram crash, because that's like the benchmark against which all other Coronation Street stunt weeks and big weeks are measured, right? And I wonder how well that would stand up to our scrutiny now.
I think the thing with the tram crash week is there was, as far as I remember, one big stunt there, and that was the tram coming off the rails, crashing into the corner shop, going up in the air, slamming down on the cabin, and then it was all about how can we rescue people. And you know Ashley trying to hold up the roof and everything, but there was one thing that happened in this. There was like, well, there's a car crash over here, and then Corrie and Abby are falling down a hole over there, and then Harvey falls down a hole, and then Jenny falls down a hole, and it was just every 5 minutes, it was almost at times, it was like, oh, what's happening now? And whereas I think the tram crash week, it was maybe a more effective culmination and drawing together of lots of long-running big stories for the 2010. Your Charlotte Hoyle story with John. You had your Carla and Peter drama. You had your what else was going on? Fizz giving birth. It was tied together so nicely. The Molly and Tyrone affair. Whereas this, although there were a few story threads that kind of were brought together, like the Jenny and Johnny story, it seems to be coming to a conclusion this week. I don't know, touch wood for Friday. You had the Harvey story as well. It felt like it wasn't naturally leading up to this week, but I'm not going to complain too much about it. But you're right, it definitely would be interesting to be able to put them side by side and see what happens.
I'd say that this was probably a more ambitious series of stunts.
Yeah, it was.
I think it's fair. So there were, and the other thing about it was that there were 4 directors, weren't there, doing this? So there must have been 4 units filming at the same time. So you had like the location stuff with Dev and
Asher and Nadia.
Yeah,
and
Kevin
getting whacked on their head. Moment of the week.
Then we've got the scenes that were with Corrie and Abby down the sewers. Then you had everything above ground.
Yeah, around by the brewery.
So there must have been a couple of directors working on the above ground stuff, and then somebody doing the stuff with Ardy and Asher and Dev involved a car crash and an explosion. Mm-hmm. Then you had the stuff with Abby and Corrie, which involved like continuously running water, rubble falling on their heads, electric sparks, and I think were those all done afterwards?
They
looked
sparks
like the sparks were added in afterwards. There was a smoke machine. There was, I think that was it really. Then you've got the stuff above ground, which I think there was a bunch of normal sets, people running around in the spooky kind of sets and. Halloween-y.
And then you also the sets were amazing, weren't they? The haunted house stuff with all the neon and everything. We were commenting when we were watching it on Monday about how well put together they were.
Then you also had the stuff which were the stunts above ground, which was people falling in sinkholes.
Yeah. Speaking of the directors, you really must go if you don't follow him already. George, I should have learnt how to pronounce this surname afterwards. I apologise. Siougas. Siougas on Instagram, and he's there on Twitter as well, and he has put on a ton of behind the scenes stuff. He's one of the directors.
So there were 4 directors. Week. There was Suri Krishnamma, George C. Sugas, Brett Fallis, and Pip Short. I
like Pip Short. She's got a nice short name compared to some of the others there.
So there are 4 directors. I know that Joe Harvey wrote one, and Ellen Taylor wrote another.
The second one today. I can't remember about yesterday's. No. If you follow George Sugas on Instagram and Twitter, he has closed.
SIOUGAS.
He's got some great behind the scenes stuff from.
Please follow him. He's not
Monday
getting a lot of
and Wednesday
retweets and likes and replies to his stuff, but
it shows like all the little it really is like little cardboard mock-ups of the sewer set.
Like how they storyboarded that section. So I assume he did that, but he also put the video of The stunt of Sal falling in
I think it was him, yeah. Just before we started recording this, we watched the stunt, the filming of Sally Ann Matthews falling through the sinkhole in this massive... The sets, it was all like, it was a green screen all over the place. There was a trap door dropping from underneath her, falling onto a pile of boxes. She does her own stunts and everything.
Yeah, I know. Good job. It's awesome.
It was so much fun. And if you're into the behind-the-scenes stuff on Coronation Street, do go for that. Because obviously Corrie posts some behind-the-scenes bits on their own official channels. There was one put up on Monday night that we saw with Tanisha and Jimmy and Adam. I can't remember whether he had anything to say about it, about the car crash.
No, Adam Hussein wasn't in it.
He wasn't.
It's like they were like, "Ooh, is he going to be dead?" It's like, well, we know the actor's not dead.
But if you follow George, then there's some really interesting how they make it from the how they make it right from the early stages. Keep your eyes peeled for that. It's fab. Okay.
2 things let it down this week. I'll just say it now.
No, they're fine.
The scenes tonight, so Wednesday's episode, with a few scenes, you couldn't hear what people were saying.
I felt it was more.
It was Abby, mostly Abby.
I don't know. I think that as the rain was coming down, even on the above ground stuff, to be fair, there was bits where we were like saying, what did they just say?
Really
we put the subtitles on for the second half of the second episode, didn't we? I kind of wish we'd done it sooner.
That's
because I think we missed quite a bit of dialogue today, unfortunately.
Yeah. The second thing I'll say is the rain, very inconsistent. Clearly some of the scenes were filmed during the day when it wasn't raining and it was bright sunshine, and they just whacked a filter over the top and put a rain effect on the front. So nobody's getting rained on. There's like one sheet of rain falling in front of your face and nothing else anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the most egregious scene there was Harvey climbing out of the van on Monday's episode, because that should have been a really epic moment. But I was watching it and it was just like, that's so bad. It was really green cool. Screen behind him. Then you had Will Mellor in the middle layer, and then a layer of rain in front of him, and it really took me out of it.
I'm sorry, but it could have been so much. It could have been a really cool, wow, this is like an action movie. And that's what they wanted. They had great ambition. Yeah, it just felt like, nope.
Yeah, I don't like to criticise it because they did a brilliant job on so many levels. Yeah. I mean,
just want to get those complaints out of the way first,
And it is only a soap budget and everything. Blah blah. I mean, maybe they've been saving up money since.
The problem is that they wove the story of the storm into the plot. If it had been just for atmospheric purposes, you could have said, look, just ditch that. Just have it not rain in this bit because we can't make it look right.
The problem is we've had a bit of an Indian summer here in the UK this year, haven't we?
No, but this week has been chucking down.
This week has been, but when this was filmed back in where are we now? Like late August, early September, maybe. This was filmed. It was pretty hot and sunny. Yeah. So there was that one particular scene I remember with Nina and Roy on the street, and that was when she was going, "Oh, Corrie's in danger," and it was clearly like blazing sunshine with a bit of a grey filter put over the top of it. It's like it doesn't look good, and other bits of it was mostly the rain, wasn't it? The layer of rain that was added in parts, that was a bit of a shame. On the flip side, I thought that most of the sinkhole related effects were done pretty well. The bit where we will get on to synopsising it, so I don't know. This episode's a bit different to the norm, isn't it? The bit where Abby and Corrie first fall through the sinkhole. One, I was not expecting that whatsoever. I was on the edge of a seat already because he had a gun pointed at her face, and then the ground gives way and they both fall through the floor. And oh, blimey, what's going on here? We did not expect that, but I thought that was a really well done effect. Same, to be honest, when Harvey and Jenny fall through, it was good. I thought some of the stuff when Roy was trying to rescue Abby in tonight's episode, and it looked like there was some layering of green screens or what have you. It was a little bit it looked a little bit green screeny.
I didn't really honestly, I could let most of it slide, but not the bits where they're trying to film rain and they're and they say just slap rain on the front of everything.
But what can you do? I mean, they had the rain bars, didn't they? Because they had rain bars and actually squirted water a lot of the time.
Get rained on.
Well, he did some of the time. That's
but
weird.
But he didn't in that scene.
No, that particular moment, he wasn't getting rained on it as far as we could tell. But he got his hair wet, or what's little of it left. Lots of other times during the week.
I just want to also say, absolutely loved the cool set inside the beer tent of Coronation Street with all the spooky background, and then that room with the neon lights and stuff.
It was so well done. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I think stuff like that is cool in real life anyway.
I know, it's right up your street, isn't it?
Yep. And I think all the costumes were fun. And Americans, this is how you do Halloween, okay? You can be a bunny girl. Was that what was Summer, a bunny or something?
I can't remember. I know
she was in a costume.
Amy was Corpse Bride, wasn't she?
She was like had ears on her head, but she also had blood coming out of her mouth. Literally, you can dress up whatever you like, but then put blood on your mouth and you're fine for my Halloween party. But otherwise, you're not coming in if you're not spooky.
Yeah. No, it was cool. What else? I completely lost track of what I was going to say. We'll probably get there when we get there. So anyway, what happened in Coronation Street this week? I'll do Monday. I'll go through Monday. So it all started with your storm of brewing and the spooky music playing, and Reaper Ryan comes out of the shop, doesn't he? And is like, okay, we're going with this, are we? Fortunately, they didn't use the music or the background sounds or anything throughout the rest of the week, did they? It all felt very much in universe sound effects that we're using.
Dramatic background music.
No, which we hate. Although on the other side, Emmerdale, we happened to watch today's episode of Emmerdale, didn't we? We were having our tea before Corrie was like, it's supposed to be it's a Super Soap week on Emmerdale as well. I hear that's quite good. Somebody's gone over a waterfall or something. Let's watch that. And I was quite entertained, to be honest, by what I saw on Emmerdale today. And but that did have lots of kind of spooky music and sound effects and something as somebody chases somebody through a cornfield or something. So I'm glad they didn't go down that route with Corrie, but to be honest, they already had so many layers of sound on Coronation Street, I don't think you'd have been able to hear it. There was a bit of a montage at the start of the episode on Monday, because you got Nina ignoring calls from Asher, you got Harvey in his cell.
Asher's like,
I still love you, or I don't love you, or let's be friends, or whatever. Yeah, Harvey's pacing around in his cell, and then Debbie is busy organising the final arrangements for the Coronation Street show. And I love Debbie this week.
Oh, wasn't she amazing?
I love her so much. She just was in her element, getting to be her campy, businessy, organisy.
You can just
devilish self.
Honestly, Debbie is great because she could actually you could lift her straight out of a panto. What's that, boys and girls? You can hear the sound of crumbling underneath my feet. Well, I don't care. I've got to get on with Coronation Street. Come on, boys and girls, let's buy a beer.
Absolutely, she was fab. This is her one of her best weeks ever.
Loved her hair, loved her devil horns. Brilliant. So good, great. Who better to wear devil horns?
Although the bit on today's episode when people are shouting, "Gotta close it all off. There's a sinkhole opening. Everybody get out!" And she was like saying, "No."
And then she's like, "Oh no, we don't."
I was like, "Come on, Debbie." Why is nobody believing
and then she
Ryan at this point?
Threatened to sue Ryan, and I'm thinking, I think someone's gonna get sued, and it's not him.
No. Anyway, so we end this little montage with a zoom into the sinkhole, which is a bit odd because it was David's sinkhole. First time we've seen it in a year. And it had like planks all over it, so I don't know what the issue is, to be honest. Everyone's worried about Lily falling into it, but it's fine. Whack a couple of planks and no worries. But yeah, they kind of zoom into the sinkhole, and it was and there's nothing there. It's like,
but it wasn't a zoom. It was literally they
moved. It was a digital zoom, wasn't it?
They made the picture bigger of a blurry hole.
Yeah, and it's like, what am I supposed to be seeing here? But anyway, that was a bit weird, but I suppose it was foreshadowing or something.
Oh yeah, it would have been fine if they'd actually zoomed into the hole, but they didn't. It just kind of blew the picture up.
What would you have liked to have seen in there? The clown from It, or
Pennywise. Come inside.
So Abby's meanwhile in the lounge, number 13. She's got Gunny, everybody. She's got a gun. Unwrap it. Show it to the camera, everybody. Remember this? Abby has got a gun.
And it's prudent if you want to make... She was along the right lines. It was Nina that screwed up. When you have a gun, you have to take the blanket off and look at it to make sure it's still there. See?
Nina didn't do that later, did she? No. She's got the devil balloon or a papier-mâché Darth Maul or something. I don't know what it was. And she's taken a few practice aims at its head. Just imagine that's Corrie's brains. It's going to be splattered all over the place. She's also writing a note to Kevin because it's... I think she knows, or she thinks that she's going to be carted off to prison or die trying. So whatever this note to Kevin says,
I know what it says.
What?
Dear Kevin, I love you. There's bread in the freezer. To use the washing machine, you must put powder in the drawer. Turn it on to number 7.
I wanted to see Debbie going to Kevin in hospital today, and then his eyes start flickering, and he wakes up. He's like, Debbie, make me tea. Debbie, please. My stomach thinks my throat's been cut. Debbie. Anyway, Harvey has got a chum in the prison, hasn't he? One of his guards, he's been paid off or whatever. He's let him use his bum phone, and he says, "Right."
I don't think the guard's got a bum phone.
No. It's Harvey's phone. The guard gets to use it or whatever. Maybe he gets to play Snake on it.
The guard's got his own phone.
Anyway, he's there. They're plotting an escape. He's like, right, I need to get transported off to the hospital. So that we can have some kind of amazing stunty crash on the way. Should we fake an injury? And then he's like, no, I'm gonna punch the wall, Daniel Osborne style. So now he needs to get carted off to hospital. Nina, meanwhile, is watching one of Corrie's videos on Instagram or whatever it is that they use in Weatherfield, and he's like, "Hi guys, yeah, I'm all alone at home. I'm going to Germany today. I packed me bags, well, hey." And Nina's like, "Oh, he's gonna get away with it." And she's like getting frustrated about that. Abby is also watching this video back at home, and she's like, "Aha, you're at home alone, are you, Corrie? I'm going to go and pay you a little visit." So she takes Gunny, wraps it up, off she goes. Meanwhile, what are the Alahans up to? They're off on their camping trip, which... last week it was supposed to be just Dev and Ardy. It was supposed to be boys' trip out, wasn't it? And Asher crashes it.
Camping trip, and she organises shopping.
Yes, that's right.
Well, he actually Dev does.
Yeah, so they get into the car. Nina's still not answering any of Asher's calls, so she's a bit upset about that. Nina then catches up with Abby in the car and says, "Look, right, I want to help. You're going to go and shoot Corrie, are you? I'm in." And Abby says, "No, this is a one-woman show." Meanwhile, we got the Platts, we got Shona and Sam and Nick. They're all in the haunted house. They're getting a little sneak preview of it. Kirk's in the cursed crypt dressed as a mummy, and Kirk, was he needed this week? I don't know. I'll say no more. So they're all having a little look round, and then Natasha phones them, and she's been avoiding death quite well so far this week, haven't we? When we started this week, we had our death list. So I certainly had my list of characters that I think we're going to peg it by the end of the week. And like you said earlier, everybody is still very much alive and kicking at the moment as far as we know. But Natasha, I'm still pretty convinced, is going to be gone by the end of the week. Although my theories for how they're going to dispatch her have changed as the week's gone on. At first I thought, well, she's in the car, she's coming up from London, maybe she's going to end up very coincidentally crashing into the back of Dev's car, and but we've not seen any of that. In fact, Natasha wasn't in it today at all, was she?
No.
But my current theory is that she's going to get mistaken for Leanne, because later on in the episode, Leanne gets coerced into dressing up as Morticia Adams by Nick, because Natasha has phoned up at this point and said, "Sorry, I'm stuck in a traffic jam, Sam, I can't come." And Nick says to Leanne later, "Look, can you dress up as Morticia?"
Well, he says, he had an Addams Family theme planned, and Sam was saying on the phone to Natasha, "My costume won't make sense unless you're here."
Have we actually seen? Did they show us Sam and Nick dressed up? Did we see Pugsley and
I really want to see.
Who was Nick supposed to be?
A bold Ben Price with a light bulb in his mouth.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't see that as far as I know. So anyway, so I think that Natasha is going to make it on Friday. She's going to get out to Weatherfield, don her Carla Connor outfit, aka Morticia Adams, and then it's like, it's me, Morticia, and then bang. Harvey, bang. Surely that's going to happen. I reckon. So anyway, Sam's a bit sad at this point because he can't see his mum. Johnny, meanwhile, is telling Carla he's off to Indonesia to be with Kate, and Abby has arrived outside Brent Mansion. She pulls the gun out of her pocket, just having a little bit. Look at it, yeah, there we go. Corey's out, putting the bins out. Nice guy, just helping around the house.
I know, and he's off to Germany today.
I know, but you got to put your bins out before you go to Germany, haven't you? And then she puts the gun back in her pocket, ready to go out and pop a cap in his ass, and then the police arrive, so she hides the gun again.
Hello.
Corey's told that there's been a report of an assault at his property. Can we come in and have a look, please? They're like, oh, probably fine, but can we come and check it out? So Abby is like foiled again. Meanwhile, we cut back to Carla, who is in complete disbelief about her dad jetting off to the other side of the world. Do you really know what you're doing, Dad? Are you sure you don't want to stay for anybody? Jenny, maybe? And this is kind of the thread that goes through this mini story this week, isn't it? Like, what's the reason for Johnny going? He said last week or the week before that he's very happy for Jenny to see her moving on. He can live with it. He's happy if she's happy. But it becomes very apparent as this week goes on that he can't stand it. He's still very much holding a torch for her, so he's getting out of Dodge so that he doesn't have to have her flaunting her younger man in his face for the rest of their lives. Leanne now, she's coming storming around Imran and Toya's house because Rita's told her about what a massive sneak Imran's been, and then he basically has to come clean about this the one night stand with Sabine. They have a massive go at him. Toya tells Imran she can't bear to be near him, but she's got no choice. Well, Elsie is here. We didn't see any of Elsie this week, did we? She was in her bedroom throwing sheets over lamps. Yeah. So I don't know. Is there still one disaster to come on Friday?
I want to contribute. I know I'm new.
Isn't the Victoria Street going to go up in flames thanks to Elsie? I don't know. But we barely saw any of Imran and Toya this week, did we? We were worried on the podcast last week that one of them were going to cop it, but
mind you, it actually isn't Halloween.
No.
And
what?
Everybody keeps mentioning this on Twitter, or they did on Monday. How come it's Halloween and it's not Halloween? Debbie specifically explained why this is taking place 2 weeks before Halloween.
Which is?
To drum up business so that people come in and they learn about it. I also don't understand this because there are loads of attractions that are open all throughout October that are Halloween themed because of Halloween being at the end of the month.
Yeah, I was
I don't think it's that weird.
No, I don't think it's too weird particularly. Anyway, that's what's going on with Imran and Toya. We also we talk about Harvey a little bit, and Leanne, I think, is told by Toya that she's put the kibosh on the appeal, so no need to worry about him getting out anytime soon. Cut to Harvey, who's put in his van. The guard has left the door and his little cage open for him, so that when they have their little accident later, he can climb out Shawshank Redemption style and kind of roar at the sky in triumph. Cut back to the Alahans, who are in their car. They're having an argument because Asher wants to go home, what with all the rain, and they're saying, no, mate, we started now, let's keep going.
What kind of English woman gets put off of going to a fancy hotel because it's raining?
I believe it, if Asher, I would. Dev gets a bit distracted by all this kiddie arguing, hits a branch that's been cast into the middle of the road because of this storm, slams on the brakes. Yeah, the storm by this point is really starting to pick up, isn't it? As Monday's episode goes ahead, there's lots of rumbles of thunder, and I really loved all the atmospheric and stuff. It made me think, is this the first storm that they've ever had in Coronation Street? Literally, because we've never seen anything like this, never heard anything like it, and it's the sort of thing that if there was actually thunder in real life when they were filming. They'd like be like, oh, we can't film at the moment, or let's take the sound out or anything. But I really, really loved it for building up the atmosphere and the tension before the big dramatic events later in the episode. I thought it was great, but yeah, too much once it started on today's episode, I think. Anyway, Abby back home at number 13. She's given up because of the police coming around the Brents. Nina follows her in as well, and Abby says, well, yeah, the police have come round, sorry, I'm going to just have to wait for another chance to shoot him. And Nina says, oh, well, he's off tomorrow, never mind, you did your best. And Abby's like, hang on a minute, what's going on? Did you call the police? You dobbed me in, didn't you, Nina? And she eventually admits, yes, she did. She wanted to stop her. She tries to stop Abby going after Corrie again, and Abby eventually says, oh, yes, you're right, okay. Here, you have the gun. I can't trust myself with it. You take it, Nina. And so she happily clops off. Ha-ha. She clops off down the street with this wrapped up gun. And at the time I was going, it is a banana, it's a banana, isn't it? I said on the podcast last week that's the reason why Abby has to keep taking it out of his wrapping to prove that it's not a banana. But it was close, because when Nina gets back to the cafe, she finds it as a yellow glue gun. She's been tricked.
I know, it was so close.
I know, so close. And Corey's there as well, isn't he? When she leaves number 13, he's hounding her down the street and then puts on his wolf mask before heading out into the Brewery Lane bit of the fair. So the Alahans, meanwhile, have been, well, mostly Deb and Archie have been trying to push the car. No good. Tyres are popped. And then they have their stunt. First big stunt of the week. So the guard... the prison van transporting Harvey to prison is just so happens to be driving down the exact same road where the Alahans have crashed. The guard there that's been paid off by Harvey or whatever wrestles the van driver down, and the van kind of crashes over it kind of drives into the side of the Alahans car, knocks a massive chunk out of it, careens off the road onto the side, and then this is when we have Harvey emerging into this terrible CG rain. Abby, meanwhile, turns up at the fun fair. She sees Corrie going into the booze tent dressed as the wolf, and she dons this awesome Red Riding Hood outfit before heading in, and I loved the theming of this. It was just perfect, wasn't it? I mean, I don't think in the actual story Red Riding Hood does go after the wolf. I think it's the other way around, but never mind that. I'm sure she would have done it if she had the chance.
He comes a cropper though, doesn't he?
Who does?
The wolf.
Well, yeah, thanks to the woodcutter. It's not...
Who's the woodcutter then?
Don't know.
I just want to say one thing, right? How did Harvey get to Coronation Street?
He drove in Kev's van.
Oh, okay.
You saw him getting in there. That's because you put the tweet out. You put the tweet out saying you missed the chance to run over Kev when he was driving away, didn't you?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you should have.
We did our best to watch these episodes this week, but Gemma was on tweet duty, weren't you? I was on note duty, so we're desperately trying to look up and not catch miss any of the drama that was going on. Monday's episode I watched twice. Like in between the two episodes on Monday, I was like, I gotta watch that first episode again. That was amazing, and I think I watched quite a lot of the second episode as well. I've not had any time today, but I would quite like to watch it again at some point. Okay, so we've got Peter and the Rovers trying to reassure Carla about Johnny. He's like, he's going to have a great time in Bali, don't worry about him. But Carla's like, I need to do something to try and stop Johnny making a massive mistake. I'm going to go and tell Jenny. So she goes over and breaks the news to Jenny that her ex-husband, they're not divorced yet, are they, is off to the other side of the world, and Jenny's face falls because... although she split up with Johnny, they're still friends. They've still got feelings for each other. And she didn't want him to go. We get back to Harvey again. He's got Kev's phone, calls his aeroplane mate or whatever it is. He's like, yeah, you got to make sure the plane's there, ready for me to go as soon as I get there. But I've just got to take a detour to Coronation Street first to say...
that was a really baffling addition to this story.
Yeah, it's nice to know that he's got a plan. And he's not just...
broken out.
He's not just broken out and making it up as he goes along. But yeah, I don't know whether we necessarily needed that.
to I guess because people would be like, oh, it doesn't make sense that Harvey's escaped from prison just to get revenge, blah blah.
Yeah, no, he's got his plane ready to go, but it probably can't fly during the storm, can it?
No, he's probably look, grounded. I'll tell you what, I won't waste this time.
Yeah.
Normally I go around duty free, but...
So Ardy, meanwhile, is waking up and he calls for help. We got Then we got Nick.
His legs are trapped.
His legs are trapped in the car. Yeah.
He'll never play football again.
No, that's Corrie. Abby should have shot him in the legs when she had the chance today, shouldn't she? Yep. Silly. She's going to regret that. She's going to be in the prison cells tonight going, oh, damn it, if only I'd done that and never been able to be a footballer. So Nick is badgering Leanne about putting on this Morticia costume. She's got more important things to worry about. She's run off her feet at the bistro. Corrie is going through the booze tent trying to scare off Amy and Summer. They're not impressed. And then Ryan discovers that somebody has nicked the generator from outside. And all throughout this, during the episode, I was like, I had my theories and I had what I knew about the week before it started. But there was an awful lot already at this point that took me by surprise. And when this generator goes missing, I was like, what's going on here? Who's steal a generator? What's happening there?
Yeah, I remember you saying, like, what's that got to do with anything?
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Blow somebody up or electrocute them or something?
I said on last week's podcast that I was about a 3 out of 10 spoiled. I think I wasn't a 3 out of 10 spoiled. I think I was about maybe a 1.5 to 1 spoiled about this week because there was just shock after shock. I mean, do you want to say? Can we say now what we did know going into this week's episode? Because I knew that the sinkhole would be involved, but I didn't know how. I assumed that people would fall into it.
Obvious that the sinkhole was involved because they kept mentioning the sinkhole.
Yeah, but I knew for sure that it was going to be involved. And then, but by the time Monday's episode aired, and then I'd seen a picture of Dev holding Asher in the rain. Just very briefly, it flicked up on my timeline and I quickly scrolled away. So I didn't know what the context was. I didn't know there was going to be a car crash at all. That was a complete surprise to me. And with the sinkhole as well, I just imagined somebody tripping and falling into the hole in David's back garden.
Yeah,
I did not see holes opening up all over the place.
I thought somebody's going to fall down the sinkhole and they'll die instantly because there's nothing in the sinkhole except a hole.
I imagined it as some kind of bottomless pit.
Yeah. So the fact that people fell into a sinkhole and they're in there going, hello, and sitting around and having a chat was absolutely shocking.
It's like a bit on Austin Powers when... what was his name?
Smithy.
No. When thingy falls backwards, Dr. Evil presses the button and the chair goes backwards, and the guy's going, "Help me! I'm falling down. I'm very badly injured."
That was Will Ferrell's character. I can't remember.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? I can't remember what it was called.
No,
love it.
I don't think it's important.
Anyway, Ryan thinks somebody's nicked the generator, but it later transpires that it's fallen into a sinkhole because they're popping up all over the place, as they do. Harvey is getting into Kevin's van driving off at this point. Ardy tries to wake up Dev, who's coughing, so he's alright. Ardy says he can't feel his leg. Ash is out cold in the back, and Dev says, look, it's alright, Kev's gonna be... Oh gosh, there's that Kevin is going to be here soon. But... Oh no, I missed out that bit earlier, didn't I? Kevin has been laid out by Harvey at this point. He turns up. Dev's phoned him up saying, come and rescue us. Harvey comes out, whacks Kevin round the back of the head, and he's out cold. Lightweight, Pat Phelan would have been
lies there the entire
in the
time.
scrap with him. I know. So Dev at this point is under the impression that Kevin is mere minutes away to come and rescue them, but no. Corrie finds Little Red Riding Hood in this... secluded area in the haunted house, like coffin in the middle and everything, and garish neon walls all over the place, and he starts chatting her up, and I can't remember what he says, but this is when then she takes down her hood and reveals herself, and she's like, now is the day you pay. Dev is getting out of the car. He kind of hobbles along the road, bangs on Asher's door. Nope, no response there. And also Debbie meanwhile is stressing out at the bistro. Ryan says, I know you've got a lot going on at the moment, Debbie, but the generator's down and the electricity's going off. I can't play me banging tunes without this.
People only came here for me banging tunes, and Debbie's like, you poor idiot.
We see Carla having a make-up chat with Johnny at the bar, and he says, look, he does that nice little reminiscing. I mean, right,
I know.
He's so got a target on his back, Johnny, hasn't he? Him and Natasha. I mean, Johnny this week, they couldn't have foreshadowed it or laid it on any thicker this week that he is going to be dead by the end of the week, could they? Honestly, at least with Natasha, it could possibly be a surprise if she dies, even though we're predicting it. But Johnny, it was like, hello everybody, I'm dying. I'm just going to say what a wonderful life I've got ahead of myself planned. Just going to have a little memory lane trip where I remember about taking you and Aidan to the fun fair. You got scared of a clown, you big Jessie. Although, Johnny's scared of clowns. Because we learnt that in a few scenes a couple of years ago. I remember that. I think you're right. And she's like, oh, Carly, you're such a strong, beautiful woman. You become. I'm so proud of you.
It makes it sound like he's watched her grow up.
No, I know.
Right, I just wanted to say, I've seen people a bit confused about some of the things that happened on the street this week. And I just want to clarify. The locations where we're seeing people drinking and sitting around and where Abby and Corrie are, that's the beer tent in Coronation Street, which is around the back of everything, where the brewery is.
It's where they had the Winter Wonderland.
Yeah.
Was it last year or the year before?
So it's not the bistro.
2 years ago, Michael did it.
It's a completely different area that's just been set up temporarily for Coronation Street that Debbie's in charge of.
Yeah, so if you're going down Rosamond Street and you got the pub on the left, and you cross over Coronation Street, then you got the salon, then you got streetcars, turn left, you got the big gate to Nuttall's Brewery, which suddenly appeared there about 20 years ago. Through there's a big old empty space behind the factory. That's where all this is set up at the moment.
So that is parallel to the sinkhole in David Platt's garden.
Yes.
So the sinkhole that appeared, that's going to appear in a minute, is because of some kind of underground disruption caused by the instability of the sinkhole in David's garden. So because of the rain, it's undermined the structural integrity of the street because there's already a massive hole there. The water's eroding the earth, and so holes are opening up all over the place. The first of which was the one that swallowed the generator. And then another one opens up that Corrie and Abby are about to fall down. And then another one opens up a bigger hole in the Platt's back garden. So that's what's happening there.
Thank you very much.
And all of this is
completely realistic.
No, whose fault is it? What's his name?
Ray Crosby.
Ray Crosby's fault, which makes us think that this was originally going to happen at a different point in time.
I would love to find out. It really, really feels like this should have happened, and it should have been Jeff down that hole last year. And the 60th
anniversary, because Ray Crosby dug this sinkhole in David's garden to try to force him to sell the house.
That's right, yeah.
And then he put the house up, and Gail's bought it. But the sinkhole has still been left there, which doesn't make sense because you probably wouldn't be allowed a sinkhole in your garden. Very dangerous with utilities appearing because there's a bloody great big pipe through the middle of it at one point when they saw the hole before. But let's just imagine that there's different law in Manchester to do with open sewers in your garden.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how would you even have a ginnel?
Yeah.
So that's where all of this has come from.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a bit unrealistic that this has taken a year for anything to happen with consequences of having a giant sinkhole in your garden, but it really probably feels like consequence of COVID, and I think we can suspend our disbelief because of pandemic.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention with this as well,
some people can't. That's fine if you can't. I just wanted to explain the circumstances as we see it, not that we know.
Yeah, I had a look at the synopsis for Monday's episode after we watched it on Monday night, and one of the things that was mentioned in there, I think it was there that I read it, was when the people are getting all the booze off of the trucks for the Coronation Street, and they say, as the barrels are slammed down onto the ground, you see like
dirt falling in the hole.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So that they kind of also half blaming all the barrels of booze that are being put on the street. I don't know, it's a bit silly, but
maybe it was just supposed to show that stuff was happening. Yeah. I think it's the storm has Abby's purring into the microphone. I think it was the storm that contributed a lot of this because Leo says that later on Wednesday. You know, there's chaos all over Manchester.
Yeah. I do you remember when we were doing a What I Want for the 60th anniversary of Coronation Street, and I said a natural disaster, and you said no, that they wouldn't do that.
You said a storm, and I was like, that's ridiculous.
I've kind of got it, haven't I? I've kind of got my wish for the 60th anniversary.
It's like they tried to spite me.
Thank you, Coronation Street. You've done a lot to kind of test my patience this year, Corrie, but mostly with splitting up some lovely couples that I like, but I also
wanted to point out that we uploaded. Where did we upload it? The Halloween.
No, we haven't uploaded it yet. We'll put it up next week.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but no.
Next week on our YouTube channel, we're putting up one of the feature discussions from a few years ago where we talked about horror and Halloween and paranormally things that they've been on Coronation Street over the years.
I want a week-long Halloween-themed event, and here it is. I think that you guys can thank us for hating this week of ridiculous, campy fun.
So back to Corrie and Abby, and they're kind of having a circle.
This is why you say, like, oh, imagine if you're the producer, what would you do? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm always like, nope, I don't want to be anywhere near being in charge of anything to do with this TV show, because all of our ideas are terrible and everyone will hate them.
Corrie and Abby, meanwhile, are circling around this fake coffin, and Corey's making fun of Seb being dead, kind of taps the side of the coffin and everything. I can't remember, but he walks off chuckling to himself, and Abby's like, you have no idea what I'm capable of. And she follows him further into the haunted house, and there's a little bit of an almost first-person view as she goes into this other side room, but then he jumps her, which I thought was a great little moment, pushes her up against the wall, gets right in her face, and then she manages to get loose, and she pulls the gun on him. And he, at first, he's like, I don't care. Is this, what's that, something out of Seb's toy box or something? And then she shoots a mirror, and he's immediately terrified. And to see that kind of cocky smirk, instantly wiped off his face again, when he realises his life's on the line.
Maximus Evans again,
so good, great, so good. I mean, we had him and Sally Carman. Those two together, absolutely wonderful. Well, one of my favourite,
and David Nielsen later in the week.
Yeah, one of the best aspects about this week for me is that the main players in it were some of my favourite characters. To have Abby, to have Jenny, to have
I know.
Johnny. Little bit of a Manantoya of being there. Corrie, obviously, being the main people this week. It was almost like it was written for me. The Alahans as well.
I know.
So
I can't believe it. It's like, literally, it's like all my favourite characters, which makes it even more nerve-wracking to watch. I've just been
like, someone's gonna die here.
I really don't want this to go any further, please.
It did make me wonder what was going on with the other characters. Like, what were Fizz and Tyrone doing while all this was happening? What was Evelyn doing? What were the other Baileys doing? Did they not fancy going to Coronation Street, or were they just in watching a good film or something? I don't know. But I'm a little bit surprised, considering that part of this Coronation Street was bringing together a couple of stories for this year. We've had no hint or anything of this Fizz and Tyrone story, which has been another big one for the year, but never mind. So, Roy is trying to phone up Kevin, and thank you, whoever it was that wrote that second episode of Monday, but when Roy's dialogue is, hello, it's Roy Cropper. I was waiting for it with him on the phone. I said to you before Roy said it, I was like, please have him say it's Roy Cropper, because that's his kind of unofficial catchphrase that nobody seems to know about. That's how he introduces himself to people, like there's only one Roy. It's brilliant. Anyway, no good, can't get a hold of Kevin. Obviously we know that he's unconscious on the ground somewhere. Then Ryan and Ronnie discover this big old hole where the generator's supposed to be, and it's not that somebody's stolen the generator, it's just fallen into the bowels of the earth. What is going on here then? They think, oh, there's a manhole cover just falling in on itself? Oh no, it's much worse than this. Not as bad as what's going on for the Alahans at the moment, because their car explodes, just to add to the drama and stuntiness of it, because they've got a camping gas canister there, and you can't have a car crash without a big explosion. Harvey, meanwhile, shows up at the bistro with the wrench in hand, and this was, as I pointed out on Twitter earlier on in the week, the exact same stunt wrench that was used when Kylie killed Callum. I have held this wrench in my hand. It's very realistic looking. They've got some really good replica spongy foamy tools and stuff, haven't they, in a cupboard in the stunt room. But yeah, I have clonked Charlie DeMello over the head with that. I'll put a picture of that on Twitter as well.
Let's hope the week doesn't end with that happening.
For real, I know. Is that foreshadowing? So yeah, he's there. hello, it's me, Leanne. I've come to pay you a lesson. And
Pay you a lesson?
Teach you a lesson. And, Corey, meanwhile, begging for his life with Abby. He's like, I swear I never touched Seb. And Abby's like, you're lying, stop lying. It really looks like she's going to shoot him. There's a few moments this week where somebody is about to pull the trigger on somebody else and then something happens. And this something that was happening was the sinkhole opening up and swallowing them whole into the Weatherfield sewers underneath. And this was like, Gemma and I were like, what? When this happened. I did not know that was going to happen. No. I'm so glad I avoided the spoilers because from asking around, it seems like a fair bit of this was spoiled, or like in the trailers there was a bit of them underneath the ground and everything. And although I assumed, although I knew that the sinkhole would be involved, I didn't know for sure who would go into the sinkhole. And like you said earlier, I just assumed that if somebody was going to fall into a sinkhole, it'd be, well, that's it for them then.
Yeah, like you're in a hole.
I was not expecting the cool underground stuff.
I've got no imaginations as far as holes are concerned.
No, nor have I.
Really.
A hole's a hole, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Every hole's a goal.
Jenny turns up at the drinks tent, starts having a chat with Leo. Johnny's there watching on wistfully, and then Roy comes in and's like, nobody else has noticed this, but I just heard a gunshot. He's like, I'm no expert on these things, but I'm pretty sure I heard a gun just going off.
I don't think that people who haven't heard a gunshot, which includes myself, know what they really sound like, because I've heard lots of people saying, I heard, like, who were witness to crimes going, I thought I heard a car backfire or some weird popping noise. I didn't know what it was a gun.
Yeah, I know, but I there's been enough people on that street who have heard a gun because there's quite a few guns on the street.
Crime episode for more.
But he's like, yeah, I think there's a gun, and Nina's like, yeah, oops. I think it's probably Abby because she gave me the gun earlier, but it turns out it was just a glue gun. So they think, Abby has shot somebody here. And the episode ends in the sinkhole. Abby and Corrie are starting to come round. Guns at Abby's feet. Water's pouring in. Cables are sparking. Great place for a cliffhanger at the end of Monday's episode. So, but maybe before we go into Wednesday's episode, thoughts on Monday's, Gemma? Any favourite bits?
The only thing I want to say, another criticism, is that the underground bit was very setty.
Yeah,
it really did feel like a set of a really high-end musical, and Abby's gonna be like, okay, I agree that you shouldn't really die, but my son is still dead.
I thought it was fairly well done. I loved all the water that was being poured on them. But
is that what sewers look like?
Yeah, in my head.
It did look a bit like...
What are you expecting? A couple of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just to come cowabungering down the...
Do you guys want pizza? Flumes? You look cold. It looked like a very elaborate play set, but also it looked a bit like I could be tottering down there in Resident Evil with a zombie about to jump out at me.
Yeah.
I don't know what sewers look like, but
I don't know. It was a little bit satty. I didn't mind it too much. I thought that the stunt, the car crash stunt,
that was great.
I thought it was nicely done. Again, I've seen people criticising it, saying it was laughable. I thought it was a pretty good one.
Why was it laughable?
I thought that having the prison van sliding down the road on its side was nicely done. I thought that the massive chunk that was taken out the back of the Alahans mobile, brilliant.
I think it was clear that they really did drive a van into the back of a car.
Yeah.
And then the van fell over.
I know. I mean,
so
in a way, that was one of my favourite bits of the week because it was a proper old school practical effect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The back of the Alahans car got completely mashed up. It's a shame that the lighting was wrong.
Yeah, I know. But what can you do? It's like, well, you can't say, we can't.
Let's just wait until it rains.
Let's just do a different story then. Or let's wait until it rains.
It's just really unfortunate that the weather was so important a part of the plot that they couldn't say, well, this bit just happens when it's sunny. Although we all live in this country, we all know what the weather's like here. 1 minute it can be sunny and the next minute it rains.
Yeah, we've
all been in a situation where it's raining cats and dogs and then suddenly the sun comes out of nowhere and you can't see because the the pavement's blinding you with all the light reflecting off the puddles. It's true.
Yeah,
they could have just wetted the ground and gone, it just stopped raining for 5 minutes. Deal with it. That's what happens in England.
The behind the scenes stuff did show them spraying copious amounts of water on the ground, didn't they? But,
it just was unfortunate that really was. The lighting wasn't right.
What did you think about Ardig? Because that was the big worry.
This is
wasn't
the thing.
It? He's going to be fine now.
I'm sure he's going to be fine because there's a lot of mileage in. Why did you leave me to die, Dad? Yeah. Why am I not the best twin, Dad? I've done nothing. She's the one that's the troublemaker. Why does she get saved and not me? This was supposed to be our holiday.
Because Dev said to him, "You've got to save yourself. I need to go and get your sister." Oh. And I don't really blame Dev. It was a lose-lose situation.
I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's logical. Of course, he should have rescued Asher first." But if you're Ardy, that logic doesn't really fly, does it?
No.
Because he said to him, "Dad, if you help me, I'll help you get Asher out. We'll do it together." And oh no, it's just so sad because the other thing about it was that Dev and Ash and Ardy have a really great, funny dynamic, and that's going to be gone.
It will be for a bit. It'll come back. But you're right. They've done it for the drama and for the fallouts. Ardy's at a great
age for that kind of funny, where he's kind of in the teenage phase, but he still respects and likes his dad and wants to be like him. And I think he's not going to want that anymore, is he?
No.
Now his dad's left him to die in a car crash.
But if I was Dev, I'd maybe do the same thing. Not because Ash is my favourite child, but because she can't. There's no way she can help us out. She still looked alive, and there was a chance that Ardy could. That it was an impossible situation
when you triage people, you're supposed to ignore the ones that are shouting.
Exactly.
But you're not triaging if you're a dad.
I did think it was weird at the beginning of today's episode, of the Wednesday episode, that Ardy just was. Is he dead? Oh no, he's not. He's over there.
Yeah.
We missed a bit where he kind of crawled out or something. I thought at least we knew, because that was what we were worried about between Monday and today, wasn't it? Like, is Ardy going to die? I didn't think that he was.
I thought there was a chance. I really
didn't think that they would kill off him.
He's such a great character. It would be ridiculous.
Everybody loves him. He's not had a big story of his own yet.
The only way it would make sense is if Adam Hussein was like, well, I have been in the show for like a year, I'm going. I don't know how long he's been in it.
He's been in it like a year and a half now.
Yeah, he's not been in it long enough for it to really make sense for him to be like, right, I'm leaving.
No. I wasn't really worried, but I'd like there to be some kind of surprise twist, because if everything I've predicted with the deaths is what happens, I'll be like just a little bit disappointed maybe that there wasn't a surprise.
Are we going to recap our predictions at the end?
Yeah, I guess so.
We should do.
Okay, so anything else for Monday?
I just thought it was a good start to the week. Pretty solid.
Yeah, it was all very coincidental, over the top, but I did not mind.
Halloweeny.
Thought it was honestly great stuff. So Wednesday, what happened today, Gemma?
Well, underneath the ground, Corrie wakes up and he's like, "Where are we?" And Abby says, "Not Butlins," which great script.
I would have to say that today's first episode was the weak point of the week for me. Aside from the fact that you couldn't hear what the characters were saying half the time, I didn't think the script sparkled quite so much. I thought the pace wasn't quite there. It was just a lot of people having a chat with each other and saying, having a go at each other. I can't say because I didn't know what Abby was saying, but it felt slow the first episode. I was waiting for more action to happen, and we definitely got it in the second episode. But yeah, this first one here with those two in the pit, it just felt a little bit flat, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was.
A lot of people were predicting, Corey's gonna get his legs crushed, and he's not gonna be able to be a footballer anymore, which would have been cool, but that's not what happened.
No.
Corrie gets up and some rubble's falling all over the place. This is where it turns out that he shouldn't have shaved his head, because surely a bit of hair would have been a buffer.
Helpful cushioning, yeah.
There's no signal on his phone, and Abby's like, well, obviously there's no signal underground, you idiot. He tries to climb out, he can't, and Abby's got her eyes on Gunny, which is right in front of her on the floor, but I don't think
Corrie hasn't spotted it yet.
Meanwhile, Dev is shouting for Ardy, but it turns out he's just on the floor.
He's my son!
Just on the floor, having a nap with Kevin. Both of them curled up with a
sleep
blanket.
over together, aren't they? Yeah.
Harvey is...
Bag of posh crisps, just sharing them together.
Harvey is with Leanne in the bistro and he demands that she give him her phone. And she's like trying to act tough, but he's tougher. He's not interested. He leans in and says that under the right circumstances he would have given her one. I don't know if that is a love session or a punch in the face.
A phone.
It
felt quite erotic.
He texts Simon and Toya, come to the bistro now, there's a problem, in like all capitals, in a really... If you got that message from me, would you have been like, what?
I would have been suspicious, yeah. All capitals, you don't do that. Even when you're at your angriest.
No.
Usually,
just don't blank you.
Yeah, you do. Or maybe one word.
Yeah. Ryan fetches Leo, because there's a hole, and we said the generator's fallen in the hole. Well, it has. Jenny goes to speak to Johnny about the move. She looks fabulous, by the way.
Jenny looked lovely tonight, didn't she? It's such a shame she got rained on and dropped into a pit.
I know. It's always when you look your best, isn't it? That's when he tries to drop you in a pit. It looked like she had a peach turtleneck on, but it was actually pink in the other video that I saw of her stunt. So, just going to say you look great in both colours, Sal. How about that? So she is... Where is she?
She's talking to him. She
Johnny,
doesn't
why
like the idea.
Tell me?
Yeah, why
don't you tell me you wanted to move? I don't want to drive you out of Weatherfield. We still care about each other, don't we? Ah. Nina's trying to stop Roy calling the police on Abby. Meanwhile, Corrie and Abby in the hole are still stuck. Her legs are like trapped and she can't move. And he sees her going for Gunny, but he grabs it first. Then we get Dev with Ardy. He's still breathing, thank goodness. The guard is there and he's like, who's this other bloke? And Dev's like, I don't know, some guy. He asks him what his name is and he doesn't even say. He's like, I called him to help us. He was coming to save us. It's like, was he really? He was just going to fix your car. Because it wasn't really that bad until the police van crashed into you. Leo says, I think that the reason that the sinkhole has fallen in is because it's raining so badly. And it's very odd, honestly, that this hasn't happened before in Manchester.
Yeah, considering the amount of rain that must have hammered the street over the past 12 months.
He says to David, I need to get into your garden and I reckon we need to evacuate. And at no point does anybody call the fire brigade to organise this. But even if they did, I don't imagine they would have got there because apparently there's bad traffic and floods everywhere. So I don't know why they didn't show somebody phoning the police.
I thought the police did turn up in the end.
Some of the
official sounding. I think Leo was the one that eventually did it, wasn't they?
Abby taunts Corrie and because he's got the gun and he's just about to pull the trigger when a load of rubble falls on his head. And I just want to point out that this is the only time that rubble fell on anybody's head during any of these scenes, which was quite lucky for Abby. He gets knocked to the floor. Then we get Ryan and Kirk very ineffectually trying to get people to move out of the tent, but it doesn't work because Debbie hears them and says, no, it's just a joke, ha ha ha, it's part of the act.
I didn't like this. This was one of the things that this first episode just didn't quite fly with me. The fact that nobody seemed to believe them and they're like, oh, it's just part of the Halloween fun. They clearly looked like there was something serious going on. And then when they didn't believe them, Ryan's just like, oh, well, I've warned you. He didn't go, no, seriously, I'm going to drag you out. He just gave up.
He did give up.
Never mind.
And he carries on DJing.
Yeah.
He's like, well, Nero fiddled. Ryan DJs.
Yeah.
It would have kind of maybe benefited from a scene before then when somebody tried to play a joke on them and they fell for it, and then they were like, right, I don't want to look stupid.
Maybe. I thought that was a bit of a shame thing.
But I just want to point out, it's not completely without the realm of human behaviour to, if no one else is moving, you won't. This is true. Let's just not pretend here. If you're in a group of people and somebody's like, watch out, and then nobody moves, you're going to just not move because you don't want to look like an idiot or overreact. Yeah. And I've been in situations where I know that, somebody's saying something, I'm like, well, ignore them because it'll be fine in the end.
But if it's one of your mates that's coming and saying, get out, you're in danger, you think you might listen to him?
But who was it? Kirk and...
It was Kirk and Ryan.
Yeah, but they...
With Amy and Summer. And
but they're not friends with Ryan or Kirk.
They're not mates, but, they know each other. They're neighbours. Everyone's
but Debbie
one big
said it's a
community.
wind-up. The person it doesn't make sense was Debbie. Because Debbie had no information to tell her anything different.
No, I mean, she just cares about her profits, doesn't she? And the amount of work and effort
Ryan,
that's been gone into this.
you're being a drama queen. And he's like, yeah, maybe I am. I'm just going to say, this isn't really a plot hole, but this is perhaps not great writing or plotting. But it also isn't completely without the realm of human... Like, Debbie is a very driven businesswoman who is thinking, of course, well, listen, would you really think, yes, there's a possibility that my entire beer tent's going to get swallowed into the ground?
When you put it like
that. I don't think you would. I think you'd be like, of course this isn't going to happen, Ryan. This is England. People don't fall into pits anymore.
If she was going to give up, she'd have given up when the rain started picking up, but she was determined to see this night through, wasn't she?
Absolutely.
And it's ended because it's supposed to be going on all week, innit? It wasn't just a one-day event.
Exactly. Toya gets this text from Leanne, and so does Simon, and she's like, "Oh, she's a bit demanding.
Yeah.
Should we have a drink?" So Simon and Toya just have a drink while Leanne's being tied up. She tries to escape the old need the toilet trick, but it doesn't work.
No.
He sort of puts her on the floor and kneels on her back and tapes her up. Corrie comes to after being knocked to the ground. Abby's got the gun now, and he starts begging for his life. And she just says, I just want to hear the truth. I need to know what happened. I need you to admit what you did.
Did you kill Seb? I know you killed Seb.
Yeah, admit it.
Say it, yeah.
Paramedic arrives at the scene of the Alahan crash, and Adi is still out cold. Kevin's wrapped in foil, and he is being baked in the oven at 180 degrees.
As per Abby's instructions in the letter earlier on Monday's episode.
Debbie gets a phone call saying that Kevin's been in an accident. She's very shaken and sort of leaves immediately.
Well, no, she doesn't. She has a panic attack, doesn't she?
That
was weird.
It's not weird. It's humans.
No, it's not weird that it happened, mate, but weird that they made it happen for Debbie, because it seemed a little bit, it didn't drive the plot particularly forward, apart from it gave Toya something to do. She's like, I know how to deal with people who have a panic attack. You gotta sit down and calm down.
We need a brown bag. Breathe into the brown bag.
Yeah, it's nice that she cares that much about her dear brother Kevin. But...
I think it showed, Debbie might very well be a hard-faced businesswoman, but she's not prepared for an emotional crisis to happen.
I just kind of thought we could have seen that with her dashing off and then at the hospital.
I just kind of thought it was good because we don't very often get a range of reactions. The actors and the scriptwriters are pretty good at a very bog standard response, but when it comes to people going slightly off piste, which is what people do, and having a bit of a weird reaction to something, they don't very often go there. So I thought this was good.
Okay.
So she's just having a panic attack in the corner, and Toya's gone into counsellor mode. And Roy is there, and he wants to know where Abby is, and he brings up the gun, I think.
No, he doesn't.
Well,
He's like, where's Abby and Corrie?
He definitely mentions there's a gun in front of people at some point, stitching her right up. And then Kirk says he went into the House of Horrors, so in goes Roy, saying Corrie may be in grave danger. This is definitely when he brings the gun up.
Okay, and again, that was a bit melodramatic that line.
I love this bit. No, but I think this is paving the way for a later story when we get to what the aftermath of Abby versus Corrie in Underground is going to be.
Okay.
Imran gets a call from Sabine. She's like, "Hi, Imran. Listen, if Harvey turns up, it's because he's escaped from prison, and if he's really mad with Toya, it's probably my fault because I sort of said that she kind of stitched him up and everything. So there's an escaped criminal on the loose, and he wants to murder your girlfriend. Anyway, have a good evening. Bye bye." So Imran paints through and he's like, Harvey's escaped and he's looking for blood and revenge. Harvey, meanwhile, speak of the devil, is in the bistro. He's getting very frustrated by the fact that Toya and Simon haven't turned up. And he was like, oh, they're too smart for you. They've probably called the police. Little does she know that they're both just there getting quietly sozzled in the beer tent. He tapes her mouth up, but then he goes to look out the window and she runs away. We've missed this.
We did. I think I was taking notes and you were tweeting, and then all we saw was Harvey dashing out into the kitchen of the bistro.
What's he doing?
Where's he going?
Off to? Turns out she's
scarpered.
Abby tells Corrie, "If you tell me the truth, I won't shoot you."
About Seb.
Yeah, and he said, "Yep, all right then. I did kill him." He's crying. He's saying it was an accident. He didn't mean to. I just wanted to teach him and Nina a lesson. He starts begging for his life, saying, "I'll give you money."
Did you believe his the sincerity of his confession and his it felt quite real to me, because he is just a kid at the end of the day. He's not evil in inverted commas. It was something that went too far, and now he's got this gun pointed at his face.
It's not to make excuses
the truth is coming out,
or to make it sound like it's a fine thing to do, but there's certainly a difference between premeditated. This is why the law distinguishes between the two. There's a difference between premeditated murder, cold-blooded, planned and executed murder, versus I'm gonna kick someone or fight somebody or hurt somebody and go beyond the level, and it's not acceptable to do anything to anybody. But
if it involves kicking them in the head repeatedly, at least.
Don't do anything to anybody ever.
I thought that Sally A. Carmen's performance here was just brilliant, because she absolutely loses it, doesn't she? She just goes utterly insane, and she's ranting and raving
he
and
says,
crying
"I'll give you
and
money."
sobbing and
she's like, "No, you enjoyed it. It wasn't an accident. You only regret it because you're in the situation," etc., etc. Absolutely fantastic. Leanne's running around. This was really spooky, and I thought that this kind of got lost in everything else, but this was really, really great. This was quite iconic. Leanne is running around this haunted spook fest with a long black wig on, dressed as Morticia, with black tape round her mouth. And every time anybody sees her, they're like, "Cool costume," and then they run away. And it's like she can't ask for help. She's hiding. She looks like an exhibit.
She looks like, I said that she looked a bit Carla Connorish, didn't she? And if there's a gif, and I think it's from the Factory Siege of Carla with tape over her mouth, isn't there? There's like loads of versions of it. She was dressed as the Carla gif.
Yeah, basically. She was. I'm going as the Carla gif following. So she can't get anybody to help her because she can't speak. What a nightmare. I'm sure there are people watching this that have literally had nightmares exactly like this.
She'd gone to those BSL lessons with Gemma. She'd been absolutely fine.
Her hands are taped.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Oh, well.
See? Even Gemma couldn't have got out of that situation. Meanwhile, Abby's still ranting. He's crying. Corey's crying. "I'm sorry, I swear, I didn't mean to." She is just about to pull the trigger when along comes interrupting Roy.
"Hello, it's me. It's Roy.
Roy Cropper. Hayley can't come. She's dead." That's a reference to to whose wedding?
Oh, it was what wedding we were watching on
Peter and Shelley's.
Oh yeah, Peter and Shelley's wedding.
Where Roy's walking around going, "Hayley can't make it. She's attending to a sick relative." So that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, he says to her, "Put the gun down," and then he gives her the speech. "You're not like him. You're not a killer. This isn't what Seb would have wanted." She lowers the gun. She collapses to the floor. She starts crying. Roy helps Corrie out with his anorak of... What? Anorak of...
helpfulness. I think that he should have got his bag on him with the key on the string and just lowered his bag down and reeled him back up. Yeah. And what you got a key on a string for if you can't use it to rescue somebody from a sinkhole? I don't know. What's the point?
Abby doesn't respond to his cries.
She's just completely out of it, isn't she?
Lost her mind.
Yeah.
She's devastated. She's crying. So what's the point? This is what I feel like when I buy shoes and they're uncomfortable, and I wanted these shoes for ages, and all I've been focused on is buying these shoes. They look fantastic. They're really expensive, which means they're great and better than other shoes that are cheaper. Buy the shoes, put them on. They don't fit properly or they're uncomfortable, and then I just cry on the floor like, I've built up to this for so long and now it's been snatched away from me. I thought this is what I wanted, but it turns out it's not the right thing for me after all. So I completely understood, and perhaps that's what Sally Carmen was imagining as she lay there.
You've got to get your motivation from somewhere, haven't you? That's what it would take for you.
Jimmy Choos. too high. I thought I could go
I
with
need to
a
ask her.
4
We need to get her back on the
heel.
podcast again and ask her what she thinks of when she squeezes those tears
You
out.
probably don't want to know. It's probably something horrible and tragic.
Oh.
Only I am this Charlotte. So yeah, she's upset and she's crying. Meanwhile, Harvey's stalking Leanne around the fair. There's quite a few scenes of her sort of standing against the wall, as he's in the background and she's in the foreground.
I thought it was going to be a bit like Scooby-Doo, where like the baddie walks past and she stands next to a row of witches or something and pretending to be a statue, and he just walks straight past her, and then she lets her breathe and then and goes. But no, we didn't
She's
get
also
that.
very damp.
She is as well.
And
It's just very
cold.
rainy.
Simon and Toya arrive, but
Don't know why she didn't take the wig off.
She's gone. Leo is checking around David's hole. Looks dodgy. And he's like, everybody needs to leave. David, go and tell everybody in the tents to get out.
I asked Ryan and Kirk to do that earlier, but people are still there.
Yep.
Yep. Then Roy rescues Abby at last, doesn't she?
Well, he basically says, she's saying, what's the point? Nothing's going to bring Seb back. Corey's going to walk free. And he tells her that Kevin's had an accident, and she kind of suddenly starts to pay attention to him. But it's not until he sort of says, oh, well, fine, just die in a hole then. Who gives a crap?
He starts trying to use reverse psychology or something on her, doesn't he? Yeah. It's like, you're being so selfish.
Yeah, you're being selfish.
You need to be a good mother to Jack.
She says, I'm not fit to be a mother. And I failed every child in my care. Every single one. And he says, justice for Seb is going to be pulling yourself together, being a good mother to that little boy and supporting Kevin. Don't ruin your life with your untimely demise. And she goes to reach for his coat, and then she gets blasted with a torrent of water and knocked down.
I didn't see the point of that. Because
well, then she gets back
the
up
next
again.
scene that she's fine, she just gets out of the water and then gets lifted out. I thought that she was going to get blasted downstream, and then we'd be catching her later up. Later in the episode, or she'd be the one that was washed out down there into the sewer. But no, that seemed a bit of a pointless little.
Meanwhile, in the hospital, Ardy is stable, but he's not conscious yet. So they want Dev to go and get stuff for him, but he won't because he wants to stay by his side. Then Debbie turns up. David and Ronnie try to get people to leave, but they're not really listening. And then Ronnie does a big, get out, you idiots! And everyone pays attention to him because he's a bit more...
a bit more
He's
commanding.
got a bit more gravitas than David does.
Yeah.
Jenny comes into the Platt garden looking for Leo because she knows that she's heard Ronnie saying that there's a bloody great big hole in the ground, and she knows that Leo's supposed to be fixing it.
He's a bloody great big hole expert.
Yeah, he is. He's a civil engineer, apparently. Leanne stumbles into Harvey at the giant clown's mouth, and she tries to run. There's a bit where the clown's mouth falls down, and it reminds me, is it Charlie Chaplin who had that really great
the side
thing
of the house
where he did the stunt himself, where the entire side of the house falls, and he happens to be standing right where the window is, and he did that himself. It was kind of a bit like that. I don't know. I didn't think that anyone was in trouble about the giant clown's mouth falling on them. He says it's his lucky day, but then, just as he's about to hit Leanne with a wrench, the floor opens up underneath him and he falls down.
Now, at this point, I was thinking, maybe it's lost its the effect. When Abby and Corrie fell in, it's like, wow, that came out of nowhere. That was amazing. What a brilliant twist. But when it hit Harvey, I was like, seriously, they're going to do this again? And they're having another person just falling into a pit at the exact moment that they're about to attack somebody. I don't know, I thought that was a bit cheap. And then when it happens to Jenny again later, I was like, oh, seriously? I'm very, very conflicted because, I mean, like I said earlier, I have suspended a lot of my disbelief this week and just going along for the ride. But yeah, that particular moment, I thought it was just a little bit too convenient. Did it bother you?
It made me laugh a little bit, but I think...
That's the thing, it made me laugh. When Abby and Corrie fell into the pit, it didn't make me laugh. But this one, it was like, oh, here we go again. It's Harvey this time.
Though, laughing is kind of a thing that people do when something unexpected happens normally.
Yeah, okay, maybe, but no, where it's led at the end, fine. But
I don't think it really matters. If you enjoyed yourself, You enjoyed yourself. And let's face it, the people that hated it probably hate-watched it and got something out of hate-watching it. Let's not pretend that it's not sometimes
I think a lot of people had fun ragging on Corrie on Twitter this week.
It's like picking a scab. It's like you can't stop doing it, and it doesn't feel quite exactly nice, but it's still addictive in like a really dark way.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that the people that hated it thought that this was one of the low points when he just disappears out of nowhere. Just for good measure, Jenny also falls down a hole right before she says, "I'm not going to fall in the hole. I can see where it is."
Yeah, because it spreads, doesn't it?
Shane is there going, "Oh my God, Jenny's fallen down the hole." Simon and Toya catch up with Leanne. They sort of usher her away. He tells...
She tells
them Harvey fell down a massive hole, and they're like, that's just typical of what's happening around the place. Leo and Platts get to the hole in the garden. Looks very, very deep and sinister.
A lot more so than the one that Abby and Corrie fell in, which was, 10 foot deep maybe.
This looks like
and you could see the ground. This just looked like it could go on forever.
Yeah.
So Jenny's had a bit of a fall there. I don't know how anybody would survive that. I'm not in the slightest bit worried for Jenny's safety, I have to say. I think that she's going to be right as rain. Maybe a little hospital trip possibly, but I do not believe that Jenny Bradley is going to be going out of this in a coffin.
I really hope you're right.
I know that Sally Ann Matthews has been doing the interviews and everything.
I know, well, that's
recently.
what you do when
She was
you're
on
leaving.
BBC Breakfast today. She was on another podcast the other week,
well,
wasn't
that's
she?
unacceptable.
I think she's going to be absolutely fine, but it's Johnny's going to peg it coming to rescue her, isn't he? Yeah. So anyway, this is talking to Johnny. He goes to find Carla next, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, and he's like, "Why did you tell Jenny I'm leaving? I want to go with dignity, and I'm struggling now because she's with Leo and it's painful. Anyway, where is she? I'm sure she's fine." Amy and Summer says that she left before we did. Don't worry about it. Then Johnny goes out into the street to a panicked Leo who's on the phone going, "I'm a civil engineer and an expert in massive holes, and there's one on Weatherfield on Coronation Street." And then someone else says, "Oh, someone's fallen in a hole." And then Leo says, "Yes, it was Jenny." Oh no. Then Corrie, just like Sabine, grasses someone up and ruins the story. The police come along and said, "Abby, have you been waving a gun at someone's face and threatening to kill them?" And she's like, I cannot deny or acknowledge that has happened. She's upset because she only got out the hole because Kevin's had an accident. But now she's got to go down the police station to answer some questions.
I've had an accident. You need to wash me pants.
Don't worry about it. Just turn them inside out. Poor old Abby now has to go to the police station to answer for her crimes.
Well, so does Corrie as well. The police officer's like, "I just need to speak to you both to find out what happened here."
He said, "You had a gun, so I don't know who's lying and who isn't. So you both better come to the police station."
But anyway, speaking of a gun, where is it? And at this point when we were watching, I was like, yeah, where is the gun? I'd completely forgotten that the gun had gone AWOL at this point. But we do find it, don't we? It's been...
Roy was being a git because he told Nina off for not telling him that Abby had a gun and wanted to kill Corrie before now. It's not Nina's fault.
No.
She tried to stop her and she got tricked with a glue gun. It's not her fault that she got carried away and started gluing pumpkins to things.
I suppose this thing with the gun being washed downstream was what they might say was the reason for Abby being blasted in the face with water, because she gets knocked into the stream and pulls herself out. But I guess that's when the gun gets knocked away.
And also maybe the fingerprints get washed off. Maybe. Johnny goes to the hole and says, "I'm going to rescue Jenny." And they're like, "No, you're crazy." But he starts going down anyway. And Shanna says, "I'll go. I'm young and fit and you're just an old fart." And he says, "Excuse me."
Fart in a shell suit. Which was a line that Harvey apparently said to Leanne earlier today, but I completely missed that because I couldn't hear what they were saying half the time.
"I love Jenny, I'm going." So she passes him the torch, says, "Be careful in the giant hole," and he descends into the darkness to save his one true love. If only they just stopped shagging around on each other,
gosh,
they wouldn't have had to go in the hole after each other.
He's totally dead, isn't he? But I'm glad that he's gone out a hero.
Well, we don't know.
He has, hasn't he?
Wow.
I thought that was a brilliant scene, and when he was saying I love her, I was going, oh gosh,
Why?
You're breaking my heart,
You
Johnny.
idiot.
I'm glad that they've not ended it. I'm glad that they've had an amicable parting. But
hang on a minute, he's not dead yet.
He's not, but he's going to, isn't he?
Listen,
I think that's a real heroic way to go out, and if Johnny has to leave the show, then what a great exit for him, honestly.
Leanne is in the ambulance, and David comes and says somebody fell down a hole, but they're still alive or something. And Leanne's freaking out, going, God, I hope that Harvey's dead. I really hope he's dead. Then we cut to Harvey. He's having a nap in Weatherfield Waterworks. He's been washed out of the sewer, and he's landed in a big hole sewer thing, and there's a gun there, and he's like, this is great.
I wanted one of them.
I wanted a gun to kill Toya.
Yeah.
Who's completely unconcerned about all of this.
No, Toya's main worry at the moment is keeping her hair dry underneath that brolly, isn't it?
Yeah,
she's fine.
I also like the fact that Sabine literally, specifically phoned Imran and went, Harvey is on the loose and he wants to kill Toya. And then Leanne ends up in the ambulance, and Toya's there going, oh yeah, Harvey's after Leanne and Simon. It's like, no, he wants to kill you.
I hope there is some peril for Toya on Friday, because I was last week on the podcast, I was really happy that it was Toya and Imran that have kind of been the catalyst for this week's big events, but it felt like they've not really been in it much, have they? They've had a couple of scenes between them. I thought it'd be all about them this week, but at least they're hopefully safe. I don't think now that Imran and Toya are in any particular danger. It feels like, I mean, prediction wise, like I said, Natasha's going to turn up, isn't she? I think Natasha's going to turn up dressed as Morticia. Harvey's going to come and shoot her.
Toya,
and oh well, Sam, at least you got Nick. Now you can stay on the street and you don't have to keep going back and forth to London.
We'd have to change the name of the salon.
What's going to happen with the salon now? I don't know. As long as they don't call it Natasha's.
Sam's going to buy it.
What do you think? We were wondering at the end of the episode whether Jenny's going to just wash up on top of Harvey. It'd be like one of these, like a water flume at a swimming bath where there's a bit of a blockage at one end and they all end up piling on top of each other.
I don't know where this is. This outlet here, with the sewers coming out into some kind of...
It's just Weatherfield sewers.
Yeah, but where is that?
It's off Tile Street.
We've already had the Victorian sewer bit where Abby and Corrie have been. I don't think that's where Jenny's ended up, because it's in a completely different part. So she's not going to fall in that bit. Obviously, Jenny and Johnny are going to be walking around the sewers going, oh, why? I just wonder whether they're all going to wash out into this same bit where Harvey is now, and that's where we're going to pick up with Johnny and Jenny, or if they've built another set that we haven't seen yet, which is a further part of the sewer. And how much of that can they really be walking up and down in?
Yeah,
or is it just going to be Jenny wakes up in the dark?
Yeah, I don't know. I was really hoping that we would see where they were going to end up, because I don't want them to reuse the same bit of sewer, and there's no reason to think they should as well, because the bit of sewer that Corrie and Abby were in was not the same place that Jenny must have ended up in. No, it's not.
And it also doesn't look like the sort of place that you could wash into, because it had... all of the bits that came into it were higher, and water came down from them. Yeah. So if you came out of one of those holes, you fall down and hurt yourself.
So I mean, did you just...
Unlike falling in a hole.
Do you think that Johnny's going to get shot by Harvey, or is he going to just have a bit of an upsy-daisy and fall off his perch and plummet down into whatever, and Jenny's there grabbing onto a clump of dirt or something, and then she has to be hoisted out? I don't know.
The thing is, we're pretty sure that Harvey is going to get back to the street to kill Natasha.
Absolutely.
And does that happen on screen? Do we sort of see... do we think that it's Leanne and then we find out it's Natasha?
No.
Or do we know all along? Or
I think we're going to know. I think
do we just find the body? I don't know.
No, I think...
So does that mean that... The thing is, I can't imagine they've got the budget to build enough of a set to have Johnny and Jenny looking for each other.
No.
Like walking and holding a light up and there's some water. She's not here.
Well, the amount of the Jenny's gonna be fairly, in a bad way because she dropped feet first. I don't think she's going to be doing a whole lot of water.
She landed on her feet.
I don't know. I can't quite piece together exactly how it's going to happen, but yeah, she's going to be fine. Johnny's toast, Natasha's toast. Probably Harvey as well. What do you think about Corrie now? Because I started the week thinking it's quite likely that Corey's going to end up a goner, but I think he's probably all right now.
I want to say another thing. There was a scene where somebody was wearing a ghost costume and they were walking along.
Yeah, there wasn't there?
And I don't know who that was or what the significance of that was, or whether it was
that felt like it was more important
nothing.
than it maybe ended up being.
But we definitely got a shot of somebody walking purposefully along who I hadn't seen before, unless it's another minion of Harvey's. But I don't think we know anybody.
There was also that scene on Monday, wasn't there, where Abby's following who she thinks is Corrie and pulls the wolf hat off, and it's actually Danny going, "Oh, I'm in this episode.
What's your problem?" So I agree with you. I think Corey's going to make it through this week.
Which is nice if he ends up going to prison for it.
I know, but
he's not going to confess now, is he? Were you expecting a confession from Corrie to Abby?
No, I wasn't. I was really shocked when he said, "Oh yeah, all right, I admit it." Now this is going to be even more excruciating for Abby because she's going to be in trouble for holding the gun in his face. And let's face it, if she wants them to believe her that he confessed to her that he killed Seb, she's going to have to tell them that she had a gun on him to instigate him saying that. Otherwise,
but then he can just say the only reason I said it was because it's what she wanted to hear.
I never said that, but she still had the gun on me. And then by that point, if she's admitted she had a gun on him, all bets are off. She's going to be the one in trouble, and he's not.
I can't remember how much Roy overheard, if anything, of it.
Roy definitely saw they had a gun because he moaned at Nina about this and said, "I'm a witness." That's one of the things he definitely said. And he also definitely said, within earshot of other people, that Abby had a gun. So there's no way out of this for her.
Yeah.
Or he mentioned a gun and Abby in the same sentence. So it would be obvious for you to work out. It's a bit of a strange coincidence that Corey's accusing an innocent woman of something that somebody else said that she also did.
Are we assuming that Abby is safe now, as in not on the death list? Because she was certainly there. She was certainly there at one point for me. Not this week, but a few weeks ago. I thought they better not be killing our Sally Carmen here.
Do you think that it's possible that either Kevin or Ardy die in hospital?
Nah. Kevin's a lifer.
I'd like to give Kevin the boot, but I'm afraid he's safe.
He's safe
because he's gonna be given. We really need him for Abby.
Yeah.
Not that I really honestly think she does need another character because she's very intertwined with Nina and Roy now. She doesn't necessarily need.
Well, Kevin's got to find out about Abby and Imran's one night stand, which has not really been mentioned this week, has it?
Yeah, that's true. We need him alive because he's gonna have to. Care about that. That's true.
So he's fine.
Are we going to have a death? Are we going to have a hospital bed wedding for Abby and Kevin?
Maybe. He didn't seem too bad, really. He just got clonked on the head.
Just lying on the floor.
Yeah, he'll be all right. But no, I don't think Abby's going to be. Ardy's going to be dead.
I don't think Ardy or Kevin are going to die.
I don't think. I'd like there to be a surprise twist because we knew all along that Jenny was going to be involved in this week. That was one of the other spoilers, if you want to call it that, for this week, that Jenny would be somehow entwined in it all. But I couldn't quite put my finger on how. Obviously, she's going out with Leo, the whole man, and Johnny
civil engineer
is going to be leaving. But I wasn't sure how exactly she was caught up in the drama or why on earth they were getting Sally Ann Matthews on all these chat shows to talk about it. But now it all makes sense. And I think that's really, really cool. That hopefully it's going to be quite a Jenny heavy episode on Friday, because today was all about Abby and Corrie. They don't need to show much Abby and Corrie. And I will be a bit annoyed if a good chunk of Friday's episode is just taken up in the interview room with Abby explaining what happened that we already saw. I absolutely don't need that. That can stay until next week, quite frankly. Keep up this high octane action that we've been getting on Monday and Wednesday and Friday, and the whole week to me could be one of my favourite weeks since we started the podcast, quite frankly.
I reckon, this is my predictions, Harvey 95% likely to die.
Yeah, they'll kill
Natasha,
him off.
90%. I reckon Johnny is probably 98%.
Oh God, I love Johnny so much.
And then I'm going to give Jenny a 10%.
That would be a curveball. That
I would
be
not
an absolute...
appreciate this if that's happened.
No.
And then moving on to...
But in a way, it'd be good to have a curveball, because I want there to be someone that I'm not expecting.
But then,
one of the best bits about this week has been the unexpected for me. And if Friday's so I kind of thought
the thing is, we're the sort of fans that are going to talk ourselves into something that might, make it more predictable because we've talked about it from a different angle.
Yeah.
And this is the trouble with television now and people discussing stuff. This is what ruined Lost, basically. Now, how would Johnny and Jenny... See, this is... I can imagine a tragic Lannister ending for Johnny and Jenny as they get crushed by rubble.
I hope
what
that
about
they have...
Jenny stuck with her foot in a grate going... Oh no, I'm going to die. And then Johnny comes along going, I'll save you, love. And then he tries to pull her ankle out and she's like going, Johnny, leave me, please, save yourself. And he'll say, there's no point in living without you, Jen, you know
I'm hoping for some really sweet dialogue between them before he cops on Friday.
There's a horrible rumbling noise and then a load of polystyrene stones fall on their head and they get crushed to death, just like Cersei and Jaime, which is, sorry, a spoiler for Game of Thrones, but you should have watched it by now.
No, I think that Jenny's going to be fine, but I really, really hope we get some proper heartfelt dialogue between the two of them. They've earned it. They were a brilliant couple, and it's nice that at least Johnny has realised
there's going to be a speech that happens.
Yeah. Is it going to put Jenny off Leo? Is she going to be like, I can't... we said before, we don't expect Leo to be a long-term character or whatever, so there's got to be some reason that Jenny's going to give him the heave-ho.
Sorry, I
should have
can't
fixed
date
the sinkhole
you,
sooner.
but I'm dead.
No, she's going to be alright. It's going to be alright. I don't know what else
is there going to be any other curveball here? But because the thing is, honestly, anything can happen. If there's another character who just could be walking along and just fall in the hole and die.
I don't know. If it with a curveball, I don't really want to make any predictions because it could be anyone. I want to be surprised, so I don't want to think about it too much.
Are Imran and Toya going to get caught up with Harvey as he returns with the gun? And are they going to go, look, it's Leanne, shoot her, and then Natasha gets shot in the back of the head?
I hope that Imran and Toya have something more to do.
Is Elsie
of
any significance?
No.
Is she going to burn down the flat?
No. One
thing I was thinking as I was watching this week was Leo kept running around going, this whole side of the street is unsafe. Get out while you can. This anything, it's not safe. This whole blah blah blah. I was thinking, like, imagine if they just trashed that whole side of the street.
The problem is, if that was going to happen, it would have been all over the press. Not that I've been watching any of the spoilers,
we would have found it
I think
out.
It would have been unavoidable, and it.
Unless
we've wanted them to make
sweeping
changes to the street because, I mean, over the course of the first, 30 years of Coronation Street history, that side of the street was in constant flux, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, when Leo was saying this, you want to be somewhere else on the street, that was really exciting. Well, it was a shame that we didn't get scenes of like Yasmin being evacuated or Sally and
or Rita.
Yeah, being lifted out of a
because Rita's there. Rita's flat is that side of the street. It's not that far away from the sinkhole.
Brian and Kathy as well. Factory can go in the sinkhole for all I care.
It would be really so fantastic, but yeah, like you say, unless they couldn't do it. They really couldn't.
That sort of thing
unless
you can't
they filmed
do
it at
without...
the last minute, and then they only filmed the other side of the street for like 2 weeks, and then they demolished it after it screened.
Yeah. So this is
if I was a producer, I'd be racking my brain for how can I get rid of that side of the street
with nobody noticing.
That would be my big thing. I'd like just put green screen all over it.
Yeah.
And let's get David Blaine in. He can do it.
just use mirrors like that disappearing an elephant trick. That's how you disappear 3 houses. No, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But what
Very exciting idea.
It would be fantastic. Like, if you wanted to go out with a bang.
Yeah. Is this going to be in McLeod's swan song, I wonder?
I don't know.
I wonder. This is the thing with Emmerdale this week, because it was filmed in the middle of the woods, you're not going to get any paps there spoiling it for you,
It's unfortunate that Coronation Street, although it is kind of remote in a sense, it's still overlooked by some very tall buildings.
Yeah, you can see right in there.
Yeah, if you wanted to, you can definitely tell. Especially if they bloody knock down a bunch of buildings, it'd be very obvious.
Yeah. But I'm still
unless
interested.
they did it in a live episode.
Maybe.
Wouldn't that be
surprise live episode? I'm looking forward to reading all of the plot synopses after Friday's episodes to see what was and what wasn't spoiled, because I asked on the Facebook groups people to tell us after Monday's episode, so how much of this did you know, and a lot of it had been spoiled, and apparently bits of it were in the trailer and everything, so I'm hoping that there is something that literally nobody knows. There must be. These deaths won't have been spoiled, were they? It can't be, otherwise people would be saying, because we've been putting social media posts up and saying who's going to die, and nobody said it's already been revealed that it's so and so.
Well, yeah, this is the trouble. On our Facebook group, we have a pretty strict rule about spoilers. You're not really supposed to talk about them on the street. Sometimes they slip through the cracks. But I will go on record to say that nobody spoiled anything on our Facebook group, even if you think that they did, they didn't.
No, people have been speculating, but
people have been speculating, also making jokes about what could possibly have happened.
Yeah.
But we also just wanted to say I did a poll on Twitter, and it's not finished yet. We've had 236 votes so far, and I asked people to tell me and predict how many deaths they thought we'd get this week. And 0 has got 11.9%, 1 or 2 has got 71.2%, 3 to 4 has got 11%, and 5 plus has got 5.9%. Here's a question: do you count the driver of the prison van? Because there was only one bloke who came to help at
that's
the
true.
Alahans.
He's gone, isn't he?
There was definitely 2 people
He's
involved.
the 4th funeral of the tram crash week, isn't he?
And so some of the people we've got, we had John saying, if it's not more than 5, what a waste. Natasha already dead, surely. Gillian S said, my money's on Johnny and Harvey. And Dave off to internet said, Harvey, maybe a couple of others. Halves has written, Steve McDonald, hopefully.
I think he's alright. He's pretty
Paul
safe.
has said, please let Daisy fall down that hole. Now, I was surprised that she actually appeared today trying to get Jenny to not go down the hole.
Did she? I
think
even
she
remember
was
that.
it Harold Shona? I thought it was Daisy going, watch out, there's a hole.
I don't know. I thought that was shown.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. But there you go. That's some of the comments.
Interesting. I've been thinking about our theory that this was supposed to happen last year. And do you remember that there was some weird thing about the reason that the brewery couldn't get knocked down was because of they were going to get some
architectural thing.
Yeah, and I wonder whether that was going to tie in to all this. And you can't have the area because the brewery destroyed or something. I don't know. It really, really does feel like it should have happened last year, but oh well. It couldn't have happened exactly because there was obviously no Harvey last year or anything, and it would have been
Roy and Ray, and and Jeff.
Yeah, Ray's got away quite lightly, hasn't he? I keep expecting him to come back in some way, but
he's washed his hands.
He's gone, yeah. Right, I think we are done for the week. Like I said earlier on, we haven't got news or feedback or anything. It's late. I need to get this episode uploaded.
It's a special bonus episode.
Well, it's not. It's this week's episode, isn't it? But it's quick and not very well put together. But it's just our initial thoughts on the week so far and how much we're enjoying it. But it's not been perfect. But I've been very, very happy with how it's been. Gemma?
Yep. We said everything already.
You said everything already, everybody. So I hope more people enjoyed it than didn't. I've spoken to a few people at work and they've enjoyed it. I hope that Corrie... I hope that the people involved in it still feel proud of what they've put together and they don't listen to the criticism too much. But then, as I say, we criticise all the time, and
this is the trouble.
And at those times, I want them to hear my criticism. You just can't. You cannot win.
You can't win. You can only do your best. They're still working under restrictions for COVID, to a certain extent.
I mean, this week it was very clear.
Probably lots of tests.
Yeah, testing up to the eyeballs.
This is a big stunt week. We love stunt weeks.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that we like in Corrie.
But not everybody does. But that's fine because stunt weeks don't happen every week. So 51 weeks out of the year, you're all right.
Yeah. And I hope it made for an enjoyable podcast as well, because I'm sure if we're just moaning or just generally apathetic towards the week's episodes, it's probably not as exciting a podcast to listen to.
But I never want to give the impression that we believe that our opinions are the only ones that make sense. And sometimes,
valid.
Sometimes I say it, but I hope that people understand that it's fine to have a different opinion. I really don't think that we need to get mad with each other about it. The only thing I don't like is when somebody has to insert their opinion on Twitter if you're saying that you like something. I don't understand. It's like a moth to a flame.
There was an awful lot of raining on our parade this week.
You really don't need to seek out a tweet where somebody says they like something to tell them specifically that you didn't like it. Start your own thread of moaners. And we've done this before. We've done this. Start your thread of moaning and have at it. But equally, if somebody's got their thread of moaning, we don't need you to come and say, well, I liked it. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. It's okay for everyone to have their own opinions and to disagree with one another, but let's not tell each other what to think. That's what I don't like. Yeah. We're not ever telling you what to think.
No, hopefully. Definitely not.
But it's very easy to fall into the trap of like, well, obviously that was good.
I know.
Or obviously that was silly.
I just feel very, very happy that I enjoyed it, because this year for me has still been a pretty pants year on Coronation Street. I think there's been a lot to criticise for me, bits that haven't gone the way I'd want to, bits that I've found boring, bits that that have got me mad. So I'm really, really over the moon with that this is right up my street, really, and I'm really, really looking forward to Friday's episode. I cannot wait. And, I hope we can have a good time watching it with your mum and dad. We need to take some of that black tape with us and stick it over your mum and dad's mouths when we're watching it.
My dad won't be watching it. I can tell you that for nothing.
Right, shall we go now? Do please, everybody, write in with your feedback. Despite my protestations and pleas on the last few podcasts, we still haven't had very many emails recently. So get your thoughts in about this week's Corrie. We may possibly be able to do a little bit of recording after Friday nights as a little addendum to this week's podcast, but we can't make any promises. But if not, we'll be back the weekend after next. We can't do a bonus podcast midweek next week, so this could very well be the last podcast you get from us for a week and a half, but we'll be putting some of the old bits on YouTube as always, and maybe look out for something from us on Saturday morning. You don't know. In the meantime, send us emails to conversationstreet@gmail.com. Give us a like on Twitter. Follow us there. Tell your friends about us. Give us a review on iTunes. 5 stars would be lovely, please. We're on Instagram. We're on Patreon. We just released our Patreon episode this week, which is Halloween themed. It was our top 5 scariest Coronation Street characters.
You won't believe my number 1.
Oh, you won't believe your number 2.
You won't believe my number 5.
No. So if you like this podcast and you just can't get enough, then maybe you would consider supporting us on Patreon, and then you can hear more of us ranting on about lovely Coronation Street things. Facebook as well.
Brilliant
Facebook group. Hello to everyone on Facebook group. I really, really wish that I could say more on Facebook group. I feel permanently guilty that how much I neglect the Facebook group, but there's a wonderful community there, having lots of fun and chatting and theorising and generally being very, very nice to each other. So if you're listening to this and you want to chat with like-minded people, go and join our group. It's lovely.
And thank you to everybody at Coronation Street, if you are listening, for putting together a fun week so far. Very exciting.
Don't screw it up on Friday.
Really...
I forgot to say, we didn't score this week's episodes, did we? Or get character of the week. I'm going to wait. We're not going to do it. We're going to see, because we did day by day this week, whenever we decide to talk about Friday's episodes, or whenever we're able, we will, I think, rank the week as a whole then, and then we'll go on to the next week. So I I couldn't possibly score it after
No.
today. It could go either way.
But just to point out, there's a hard work, these stunts. They take a long time to film. They've had to have all these different units, 4 different directors, very ambitious. Hard work, night shoots, no fun, screws up your schedule. So thank you everybody for putting in the efforts.
Yes.
From the actors to the directors to the makeup people, wardrobe, everybody, all the people involved.
The digital team.
Even though we moaned about some parts, we really appreciate everybody's work.
I hope the sound is better. I want to be able to hear every word of that dialogue on Friday.
It sounded really, that was
really unfortunate, and it wasn't just us. We saw lots of people online saying, "I can't hear what these people are saying." Well, that's really
the only reason I thought it was kind of worth mentioning, because it wasn't just us.
No.
And if you think you're going deaf, I don't think, unless the Russians have unleashed some kind of sonic weapon, which is possible.
Could be. Right, we are going to go because I'm going to get this episode uploaded before I go to bed tonight, and it's already quite late and I've got to go to school tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this, everybody. We will be back whenever we can be.
Yep.
Fingers crossed that Friday's episode is going to be good. And if you didn't like Monday or Friday or Wednesday, maybe you will still like Friday.
Maybe.
I don't know.
And
there's going to be.
And even if you don't like this week, there will be a point at which Corrie will be bang on for you.
Yeah, exactly. It has its peaks and its troughs. Yep. You're never going to like it all the time.
Yeah.
But if you are then jealous,
unless you're Ian McLeod's mum,
she loves it, doesn't she? Hello, everybody. we're doing a quiet podcast. Shush, everybody. This is a whisper cast.
You can't really do too long of an intro.
Why not?
Because it's obvious that you're doing something weird.
What do you mean?
Instead of just chatting.
I'm just chatting normally. Okay, hello everybody. This is the bonus extra super edition special Friday episode of Coronation Street. It's Saturday now, but we're talking about Friday's Coronation Street, and this is for episode, what are we even on? 493, I think, of the podcast. But we've got to be really quiet because we're in our holiday home at the moment, and Gemma's parents are just in another room, and we can't let them know that we're doing this. But we thought people might want to know what we thought about Friday's Coronation Street, if you couldn't tell from our very excited twittering during the episode. It's Saturday night. We wanted to record last night, but we couldn't because we left it too late and stuff. But we're going to be talking about Friday's Coronation Street under our voices, and
how do you do something under your voice?
Under your breath, under your body, just quietly.
Listen, we're talking about what happened on Friday. So
did you like it, Gemma?
Get on with it. Tell me what happened.
You know how.
Right,
we're not going to do a full rundown and synopsis or anything because this is going to be short, as you can tell by this waffly intro.
Listen,
what?
The first thing that everybody needs to know is that the ghost meant nothing.
The ghost meant nothing. Did we? I can't remember. Did we talk about the ghost on the other episode the other day?
We speculated it could be somebody, or who could it be? And is it Duncan Lindsay on Twitter was like, just so you know, the ghost is nothing. But also, was it
the actor who played Jacob, James Ryan, posted a tweet on Wednesday night, the picture of the ghost going, "Oh look, it's a ghost." And then I saw that, and I've been really hard trying to avoid Twitter spoilers and everything. And I thought it's thought that Jacob was going to come back as a ghost, which would have been quite cool, as the ghost.
I was going to say
Harvey's con to him, but he didn't. The ghost was nothing. The ghost was nothing. And were there any other? I don't remember whether there were any other little fake outs that they put in there.
Like, some people would say that the fake out was, this week's going to be good. But, no, I'm just making a joke, because we thought it was good.
We thought it was good, but it was still very, very divisive.
What's the other thing? The other fake out was the one we did to ourselves, which is, how many people are going to die?
Yeah, not many people died this week.
I honestly, that's the biggest disappointment to me. And I don't like actors to lose their jobs. I don't want people to have to leave if they don't want to leave. I would love it if everything was happy and rainbows all the time. But I just think sometimes you got to be a bit braver.
You do. Sometimes you need to swing that axe, don't you? Especially at Halloween. Come on.
And there's a massive cast. And I don't want anyone particularly to go. I mean,
I wouldn't say no to us a few people, to be honest.
I
And
don't want to say
the
anyone.
person that did go, was somebody I wanted to keep. I can't. No, I'm not going to say I can't believe he's gone because we all saw this coming, didn't we? For at least the past year or so. But Johnny is gone.
Well, what you read a behind the scenes interview, didn't you?
There has been an interview published since, and it
with
Richard Hawley, and it said
who
that
plays Johnny Connor.
Yeah, it said that he's been talking for over a year with Ian McLeod or whatever about wanting to go, and it was maybe supposed to be happening last year, I think it said, and then COVID happened, so they hung on in there. But really, Johnny has been a very, very side bit character for the past year and so, hasn't he? Even a year and a half ago when he and Jenny went to France, he came back. He had that little story with Scott. Then he went to prison for a bit and then moved to Maudsley Street. We've hardly seen him, so the writing was definitely on the wall for him, but it didn't make it any easier to see him going on Friday.
If you wondered why he was a bit of a bit part character for so long, it's probably that for that reason.
Yeah,
because
Easy
I don't know why
role.
Richard Hawley wanted to leave, but if he'd moved on in his brain, and he's like, oh, can you come in, please, and just film this scene so people remember who you are.
To be honest, during the pandemic, a lot of the actors, well, just actors in general, were obviously worried about their jobs, and finding acting roles was difficult. So he was probably quite grateful to be able to keep hold of it for a little year.
I don't know.
Although he is, I don't know. But I know that he's going to move on and do some work in a forest school over his neck of the woods.
A forest school.
A forest school is a thing. Yeah.
What is it? A school for trees?
It's a school where you do lots of tree climbing and outdoor stuff and things. It's a thing. Look it up.
It's not a forestry school.
No, it's a forest school.
It's not a school for people like
it's
tree
not for
surgeons.
like nymphs or druids or anything like that.
It's an adventure park where you learn maths.
It's like you count twigs or something. I don't know. Well, maybe we can get Richard Hawley onto the podcast and then he can tell us about it. But he's going to be working with a forest school as well.
You make it sound like it's a thing.
It is a thing.
A forest school.
Forest school is a thing. I promise you, we're going to have some in the New Forest. There'll be some
there.
there.
What are you talking about?
There will be forest schools in the New Forest. Richard Hawley is working at a forest school. It's a type of school. I don't know enough about it, but it's where the children go and hug trees and stuff and do bark rubbings.
I'm looking this up.
But I don't think he's got any acting gigs in the pipeline. Or if he has, he either hasn't said or I didn't read it properly. But anyway, best of luck,
What is
Richard
a forest
Hawley.
school?
And
Forest school is a child-centred, inspirational learning process that offers opportunities for holistic growth through regular sessions.
There we go. Richard Hawley is doing that. Gemma, this doesn't matter.
Is Forest School a real school?
Yes, it is.
According to the Forest School Association, it is, but they would say that, wouldn't they?
Can we talk about Coronation Street, please, and not about Richard Hawley's choice of post-Coronation Street employment?
I love the idea of it, but it just sounds wrong. It's an outdoor... Yeah, it's got a whole Wikipedia page about it.
Gemma.
Wow.
Gemma,
now I've got,
focus.
Michael, I've got something to do now.
No, you have got something to do.
No, you could better leave me alone. I'm learning about forest schools.
We're not going to do a normal synopsis of the programme,
weird.
but
Okay.
I did make notes and everything. I rewatched it again today. I didn't enjoy it as much on the second watch, but I think it's because the surprises weren't there. First watch, though, absolutely amazing. And thank you to everybody who sent me their good luck vibes over the internet last night, because I had to do a very long drive from Southampton to where we're staying on holiday, and I managed to get here about 10 minutes before Corrie started, didn't I?
Yeah.
And there was like bad traffic and everything. I thought I'd
and
miss
you
it.
got in, you were like, hello, and I was like, get the
Kettle
stuff out
on,
of the car.
telly on.
And I was like, no, you got to unpack the car because you had all of Mum and Dad's bags.
I did, yeah. So we've got. So what are the main takeaways from yesterday's episode? Johnny's dead. Natasha's probably going to be dead. Which was
I don't think so.
These were our predictions after Wednesday's show, wasn't it? We said that those two are. I think Harvey's dead, although I don't know that they actually confirmed that. I mean, we had Curtis giving his diagnosis, didn't we?
He sound like he was like I could have said that, like, we need a pulmonary...
I don't trust a word that comes out of
you need a
Curtis's
pulmonary
mouth.
investigation stat, 10 cc's of adrenaline directly into the heart.
Where was Gaddis? What was she doing? Was she just having a party with like Fizz and Tyrone and
I don't remember
and Sally and Tim and that?
I don't remember what Curtis said, but it sounded fake. And I don't know if it sounded fake because it's supposed to sound fake and this theory that we've all got in our heads is true, or it's fake because it is fake because it's a script.
My favourite bit about Curtis being in it yesterday was they had to cut to Emma looking at Curtis just so that we went, oh yes, that's Curtis.
Oh, is it the ghost? Oh no, it's Curtis.
Because I think if they hadn't shown Emma, I'd have been like,
Really?
Is that Leo? This is what happened. Then this is why they need to cast Cole on Coronation Street, because sometimes even Coronation Street podcasters can't quite keep up with everybody that's in the show at the moment. So anyway, they're all dead. Leanne's all right.
Who's all dead?
No, Johnny, possibly Harvey. Natasha's writings on the wall. He got crashed into the skip by Leanne, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was quite exciting.
Yeah, they had 2 car stunts in that week.
Yeah. Where do you want to start? Do you want to talk stories? Do you want to talk things that happened or didn't happen? Or do you want to talk... I'm saying the story. So
no, you're not.
Okay. So, which one
Have
should
you
we
not
do
made
first?
notes?
I have made notes, but I'm not going through that. I said that already.
I know, but I need you to tell me because I was tweeting.
So the story with Leanne, because she was on the run, wasn't she? Or she goes to the bistro on Wednesday evening, but gets frustrated by being holed up in there on Friday. Imran's like, I'll go and find out where Harvey is. Make sure he's definitely dead. I'll be back, says Terminator Imran. He wasn't back. What happened to Imran? I think he's fallen down a sinkhole somewhere and nobody's noticed yet. I'm just honestly, I'm quite concerned about him. But
I believe that perhaps some things were not in the final
maybe
episode.
But yeah, Harvey ends up, because we saw that on the end of Wednesday's episode, he gets washed out the sewer pipe, doesn't he? Handily next to a gun. He steals somebody's bike, pedals his way back to Weatherfield, because it's really important that he teaches Leanne a lesson before catching his plane. I'm also really concerned for his plane, for his pilot. How long is he going to wait for him? He's there on the runway going, I'm really scared of Harvey, I don't dare take off, but I think I might have to soon.
The pilot was there in Costa at the airport going, we're not going anywhere today.
It's I don't really want to open my Toblerone before I take off here, but I think I might have to. I'm getting a bit peckish now. So Harvey gets back to the street, shoots Morticia Adams in the back, and as we predicted, it was actually Natasha. And then Nick comes, finds Natasha, gets a bit of medical advice over the phone. She gets carted off to the hospital, and then Leanne's like, before Natasha gets taken to hospital, Leanne's like, this is taking too long. I'm going to go and get in the car and bring the car round or something. But Harvey's there in the car waiting for her, and he pulls a gun on her, and she's like, oh blimey. So he says, right, you're going to drive me. I need to catch I've got a plane to catch. Sorry. So she starts driving. Then she flips, doesn't she? Partway through the drive, and she's like, I'm going to crash us into that skip over there. Good job I turned the airbag off. Crashes him into the skip. Harvey bashes his head against the windscreen. Leanne staggers out, and they're all right after that. Really, well, Natasha's not. I wish they'd killed her off on that first day. Do you think that she still will, though? You said earlier you don't think she will now. If they don't, it's a real missed opportunity. But already it's a missed opportunity not to kill her off during the week.
Exactly.
Because she's utterly expendable. Having Sam have a reason to stay permanently on the street is surely what they've wanted all this time.
And he's definitely the sort of child actor who can pull off Wistful Orphan.
I don't know. I mean, he's come across as very emotionless and geeky, hasn't he, so far, Sam? He's generally a chirpy chap. I don't know whether we've seen him, like, genuinely upset. I mean, Jude Jordan's an excellent actor, but I'm interested to see whether he can pull that off or not. But yeah, that's still to come. But yeah, it should have really happened before, really. Maybe just left it until next week for Sam to react, but I don't know. That bit where... What did you think when Harvey jumped out and he was there sitting on the passenger seat?
It was very dramatic and cool, but I feel as though it was copying other films and stuff where that's happened before, but in other fiction it made sense. But this didn't.
We talked on the last podcast about having
to have gone, I'll just sit in her car in case.
Yeah, let's wait for this storm to pass while I wait in Leanne's car. Like, how did he even get in? Did he have her keys?
He wasn't even in the driver's seat. It's not like he'd gone, get in her car and try and drive away. to save myself or go to the airport. He's like, I'll just hang out here. How does he know what car she drives?
I think, well, he didn't go there to wait for Leanne because he thought he'd killed Leanne because she gets in the car and he's like, you're supposed to be dead. Anyway, never mind that.
I know, and then he doesn't shoot her. You said this. I was like, yeah, you're right.
He probably should have just shot her in the face there and then. But he wanted to lift at the airport. I think probably was supposed to believe the reason that he was hanging about in the car was that someone's going to get in that car at some point and he'll be able to hijack it with them and then get driven to the airport or wherever it is that he's getting taken away from. But
when he finds out about taxis, he's going to feel so stupid.
Yeah, I think that's what it's supposed to be. He must have had a spare set of Leanne. Maybe Nick and Leanne just don't lock anything up, and that's why Natasha was able to get into the flat. Because some people online were saying, well, she shouldn't have been in there. Although, to be honest, I do believe that she may have been given it. I think she maybe have a key.
She would have a key. So. She's the mother of Leanne, his son.
Yeah, I thought it was very cool when he sat up and he was there, but then when I gave it a bit of thought, actually it didn't make sense. But then I thought, no, Michael, we already said that we're going to suspend disbelief about everything this week and just lie back and enjoy it, and I did.
If you go back over the whole week, I think you could sum up a lot of it with, yeah, I thought it was really cool, but when I think about it, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I didn't mind. And then I really, really did like it when Leanne started careening down the road and into that skip. The look that Jane Hanson had on her face, it was just like utterly. Because she's like, I've seen my son die, so you're nothing compared to mitochondrial disease, Harvey Gaskell.
Exactly.
And he still didn't shoot her, but yeah, she didn't put her airbags in. I didn't know that was a thing, being able to turn airbags on and off, but. No, apparently I've seen, and you can turn them off in some cars because if you've got a child seat in your front seat,
that's right, you're not allowed
and you can turn them off because you're not supposed to have it.
But you're not supposed to put your child in the front seat.
Well, Leanne, your child's dead, so you should have just turned them on again. maybe she's like as long as the airbags are off while he's still alive somewhere in my heart. I don't know.
That's really cruel.
Anyway, so I assume Harvey's dead. Do you think?
He must be.
We went into the week thinking that Harvey would die and Corrie would die, and Corrie is still alive and kicking at the moment, literally because Abby didn't shoot him in the leg while she had the chance. But if Roy's to believe, she didn't even point the gun at him. That this is another point of contention for a lot of people, isn't it? The fact that Roy lied to the police.
Did he lie or did he just go? Blah blah blah. You didn't ask me this.
But... I enjoyed that scene where Abney was talking to him in the cafe and he was stalling, really trying to avoid answering a question. It's hilarious.
I know that people are trying to say that, or are saying, and I understand, and they're probably right, that Roy has been very well established as completely incapable of lying. He doesn't really get the concept or why you would ever do it, and
he's like Crichton off Red Dwarf.
Too honourable to be able to do it. But do you guys can you not like imagine this as like almost a weird kind of character development where he's sort of regressing morally in a weird way? Because actually, like, being so rigidly moral about everything has always been slightly to his detriment, and it's only because the people he surrounds himself with kind of understand and forgive him for some of the things that he does that are actually kind of hurt people's feelings a lot of the time. Because he hurts people's feelings with his being so blunt. And I just think, has he learned finally the art of
Well, it's taken him a long time, because on one of the older episodes of Corrie that we were watching recently, Hayley asks him, do you see me as a real woman? You remember? And he's like, oh no,
because you're not.
And she gets pretty mad at that. Maybe 20
upset.
years later he's finally realised that sometimes a little white lie isn't so bad. So
Is
maybe
it a white lie to lie about a crime?
just a gun.
I mean, if he's going to lie about either thing, it should have been Hayley.
Yeah,
so make Hayley feel better.
I think this is like Crichton, and he'll be just like, lie mode engaged. She didn't have a gun, absolutely not.
No way.
But we didn't actually see the lie come out of his mouth, did we? Because they cut. But the fact that Abby was later released makes me think that we're led to believe that yes, he said that there wasn't a gun, and Abby's still claiming there was no gun. And...
Can I just point out that I'm sure, I wish we could go back and watch it again, because I'm sure he said, I said this before, Corrie's in grave danger, where's Abby, where's Abby? He said this in front of witnesses, because I told you earlier in the week. that I thought
He
this
was
might
going
be.
around shouting his mouth off about the fact that there was danger afoot. Yeah, definitely.
And I guess you
This
could
was
say,
before
oh,
he'd seen the gun.
it was just a sinkhole.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he knew there was a gun because Nina told him.
Yeah, I think it was quite honourable. Oh no, that's probably not the right word. But he lied for a good reason. He was protecting Nina. He was protecting Abby, and those are both characters that I really like.
But he's
So
also mad.
I don't,
Yeah.
don't really mind.
But he was also mad about it, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he was mad.
So he's not completely lost.
No,
adrift.
I do wonder whether in the coming weeks we'll see him wrestling with his conscience with this, or whether they'll just ignore it and say that was quite handy that he was able to do that. I don't know, but I wonder how long Corey's going to keep going for, because I honestly thought that this would be at the end. I thought it'd be Corey down that sinkhole and dead before this week started.
What is it that's going to stop Corey from going to Germany? Because if this were real, if this were real, then he's got a job in Germany, and having a lady wave a gun in your face is kind of a reason to go. Even more so.
I don't know whether the fact that he's now part of an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, but he's the complainant.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't think the police go, you can't leave the country if you said somebody did something to you.
Well, I mean, there was a little bit of a clue towards the end of yesterday's episode that might suggest where the Corey story is going next, isn't there? Because we saw the homeless man with a somewhat familiar-looking bag. So Gemma, you noticed this, didn't you? I didn't even see the homeless man the first watch because I was I don't know what I was on, doing Twitter or something. What happened there?
Well, okay. The other thing is, Abby wrote a note to Kevin.
Yes.
At the beginning of the week to say we don't know what she wrote, but she put it down and then she took the gun.
We assumed that this note was saying, Corrie. Sorry, I shot Corrie.
So, at the end of the week, when she had a confrontation, been rescued, etc., and had Corrie accuse her of having the gun, then she got out because Kevin was unwell, went to the hospital, met up with Kevin. They both went home. And she said she needed to go and get her phone charger.
Yeah.
Runs inside the house to look for this letter. She can't find it. And then she runs outside to the bins to look in the bins to find it. And she can't find it there either. And then the camera pans across the ginnel to Stu, it's just the name of the man, and his friend who is nameless. But first we see he's got a Weatherfield County backpack at his feet.
It zoomed very obviously into him, which is... I think the casual viewer would have been left going, what was that about? And the fact that they didn't, reveal it at the end of the episode makes me think, I don't know, there was something... I think they should have done it differently. They should have either had it as a little, well done if you spotted it moment. That's going to be important later, but it wasn't. It was a, hey, everybody, look at this random homeless guy. It was just a bit odd, but Gemma, come on.
Well, he was originally in the show a couple of weeks ago when Sedan was having his
he's having the Battle of the Balties with Debbie, wasn't he?
Feud with Debbie, and he came out the loser, and he had all this food left over, so he asked Billy to get somebody to come and collect it for the homeless shelter. And so this man, Stu, came to collect it, and he had the Weatherfield County backpack then.
And you would not have noticed that unless you were looking out for it.
But you could
We've have since looked, and he's definitely got this Weatherfield County backpack. It
wasn't hidden, but it was definitely, it wasn't obvious, like, oh, why is he hiding his bag? It's like, it's just barely in shot.
That was clever.
Okay, so if there's any evidence in this bag, it's covered in Nahari and poppadom crumbs. So
yeah,
what's the point of that? So also the other thing I want to say.
So this bag is what was we assume he has fished it out of the canal after Corrie threw it in back in May.
It's a bit weird to say that a homeless person needs to fish a backpack out of a river. It feels a bit. I'm sure that you could get a back. I'm sure there are
Beggars
charities.
can't be choosers, Gemma. Literally,
Michael. I just honestly think it's a bit odd to say that a homeless person would get a backpack out of a river go, oh, this is all. They're always full of bloody clothes, and with like brain gore all over them.
I think
I'll just take that out and put that, because I
think
really
that-
like Weatherfield County.
Yeah,
These are
exactly. All I've got is this
expensive.
crummy Man United backpack. I'm
Weatherfield
throwing that in.
County, it's so expensive, their merch.
But I don't know what he's done with the clothes that are inside. Is he wearing them? I don't know.
if he
Presumably,
wasn't
at some
you
point
know.
soon, someone's going to stumble upon this stew in the Guinness and go, "Oh, that's a nice backpack." This is the thing. I suppose to us, it's like, obviously that's Corey's, but this doesn't. Unless it's got Corey's name on, emblazoned on the front, then I don't know why anybody would particularly notice. Hang on a minute, there's something not right about you having this rucksack.
And also, where is Abby's letter?
It's either going to be Jack or Debbie, isn't it? I kind of hope that it's not Jack, because I'm not particularly interested in
We've
him
already
being
had
part
Jack
of this
going,
story.
Oh, Abby.
And the thing, I don't know why Jack would have taken the letter. It was a letter that said Kevin. Why would he have taken it other than like, oh, my dad's in hospital at the moment. He's going to want his post when he comes out of his coma or whatever, or when he's conscious again. And has he opened it? I certainly don't think that he would have opened this letter.
Unless it's a big old fake out, and then Kevin just goes, oh, the letter, I read it and I knew you didn't mean it, so I ate it because I was hungry because you were in hospital.
No, he hasn't read it. So
I was in hospital.
I'm erring more towards Debbie.
Yeah, but we don't know what it said.
Well,
It could have literally been, Kevin, do not put a washing machine tablet in the dishwasher again.
Kevin, I put some microchips in the freezer for you as your tea tonight.
Kevin, remember we talked about this before. Just because they're called frozen chips doesn't mean that you eat them directly from the freezer.
I don't know. No. It's going to be. I think Debbie's going to have found it, and the fact that in the past Debbie and Abby have had beef.
But has she read it though? Because it was also. I'll tell you another thing that was a bit odd. When Debbie found out that Kevin was in the crash, she was hyperventilating and having a panic attack. Then she went to the hospital and she was really worried about him. But then on Friday, by the time Abby got there, she was like, oh, thank God you're here. I've got to go back to the bloody street because the whole thing's fallen in a sinkhole.
Yeah.
And she didn't seem bothered.
No, I reckon that she finds the letter after that. She leaves the hospital.
Okay. But what I'm saying was, what an odd and drastic change of tone between, oh, my brother's going to die, to, well, he's not dead and I've got stuff to do.
Well, things were going a bit pear-shaped for her when she had to leave the street, wasn't she? I thought that was all right. The story that I think was sadly underserved, even on Wednesday and definitely Friday, was the Alahans story, because they were like the centre stage on Monday, weren't they? Or for a big chunk of Monday, and then that awesome stunt on the road, and it was like, oh, is Hardy going to be all right? And then Wednesday it's like, oh yeah, he's fine actually. And it feels like they ran out of material for the Alahans in the second half of the week. Did you feel that?
It really felt like Friday was definitely a different set of stories.
And I mean, throughout the whole week, it's not exactly, there wasn't a huge cast that were involved. But then I don't know what else they could have done on this particularly, because it was just going to be him in hospital. So the story there is that Ardy wakes up, but it pretends to be asleep because he's listening in to Dev fawning over Asher and going and saying, oh, well, let me make you some hot chocolate with maple syrup in. No, I'd love that. It sounds tasty.
Too sweet.
And he obviously thinks that his dad is favouring him. I know I'm not the best at picking up on subtle social cues at the best of times, but I haven't particularly noticed massively that Deb is favouring Asher instead of Ardy. Yes, there's been a little bit, but when they've had stories like that in the past, it's like with Sophie and Rosie, it was, I think, a bit more obvious.
Yeah, but don't forget all the stuff that Ardy literally told him this before, when he was spending all his money on Asher and they had to move schools because of her. Ardy said this before.
I just think that on the whole, Deb and Ardy's relationship has been quite good, and for him to now flip to my dad left me to die, and he's going to go on some kind of revenge. I don't know. It feels a bit drastic. No,
I think it's been written pretty well.
It's
the thing is, Michael, Ardy does have a great relationship with his dad, but he probably can't see that. But he can see Asher being protected and coddled, and she was the one he rescued out of the car. And it's because Ardy doesn't need the same amount of protection, and also there's the whole thing about Ardy's a boy, Asher's a girl. Dev's protective about her, and there was even that bit where Ardy said to Dev, when Asher was dating Nina, you've fallen over yourself to have a French lesbian film night with popcorn and stuff. I've got a girlfriend who don't even know what her surname is.
Yeah, that's true.
Think about it. It's been signposted.
Maybe it is just the little subtleties building up. Because even on Friday's episode, he only took her home for hot chocolate. And it's not. You're lying in a hospital bed. Your dad left you to die in a car. You wake up and you hear your family talking, and what are they saying? Let's go home for hot chocolate. There's nothing more to do here. This is why I'm not a parent. I don't know how to look after children. Okay, fine. I hope that they don't turn Ardy like nasty. I hope they don't turn him into a rebellious, horrible teenager, because he's great as a comedy character.
This is what I said.
I don't want him to go bad.
This is what I said about his relationship with Dev. It's so precious and wonderful, and it kind of makes me mad to think that it's only been established to make this story even more poignant, because I'm not going to enjoy Surly Ardy.
No, and the Alahans.
I much prefer mini business tycoon junior.
Yeah.
Ardy.
Yeah, the Alahans have obviously been fantastic this past 2 years, but they've still just been on the cusp of dominance, haven't they? It still doesn't feel like they've had big story, and it'd be a shame if their big story was them falling apart.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Don't you think it's great that they even, got to this stage? But you see, the thing is, if you're talking about some of these stories, were they for the 60th? It kind of shows you how much work you really need to do to make these stories work on an emotional level. And I know that even with all the groundwork that's been done, people are still complaining and saying that they thought there was too many stunts and not enough character stuff. But think about the fact that maybe some of this stuff was supposed to happen last year. That means that they've had 2 years where they knew they wanted to get to this point. And so maybe some of the stuff that we've seen with Ardy and Asher and Dev has just been
I'm really interested.
This story.
I'm really interested at how much of this should have been last year and how much of it was always is new. Because I don't know whether the Alahans stuff necessarily would have happened last year, but it certainly feels like the sinkhole's just been sitting there waiting for somebody to fall into it for the past 12 months. And we've made jokes about the fact that, it appeared, when was it, last September, and then nobody mentions it for almost 12 months.
This is the funny thing, because you found that article, didn't you, that you showed me, which was on ITV, which is like a behind the scenes with some of the people who were in charge of it. So Rosie Mullins-Hoyle, who's the head of production design, and Chris Kay is the art director. And it's so funny because they're talking about the sinkhole, and I think, is it Rosie said this? I can't remember, but one of them was saying I was getting really anxious about the fact that we had a hole and I couldn't fill it because we had all this dirt and and people were, and I kept going, when are we going to fill this sinkhole? And they were like, we need it for something, and I was like, yeah, look, Rosie, I kept asking the question, when can we fill it in? We were getting really twitchy about putting it right, as we had this massive pile of earth waiting to go back in. Then we got told you won't be filling it in, as it's going to be part of a massive storyline. So this is uploaded to ITV.com on the 21st. And it's it's the social media team have interviewed these two.
There's been so much amazing behind the scenes material that's come out of this week.
I just wanted to say, so the sinkholes involved, the Alahans involved, Harvey and Deanna involved, and then you've got the sewer stuff with Shona, Johnny and Jenny. And I just wonder, because I've heard a lot of criticism of people saying, oh, too many things, couldn't concentrate. I felt like too many things were happening at once. But I wonder, was some of this from the 60th, some of this was supposed to be this year, and some of it was just, we can't do that because of COVID, but let's save it up and let's just do it all at once.
I just saw this week as a massive celebration of finally we can do something big again. Let's check what we've got at it.
And I will agree.
It was utterly ridiculous, but I loved it.
That the tram crash is always the baseline, and I think the tram crash story was better because all of the storylines wove around each other to make one coherent event story that brought everything together, whereas this week still felt like this is that bit, here's this story, and obviously they all affected one another, but the plots didn't. The characters didn't really.
Yeah, I think in the 60th as well. Yeah, I think in the 60th as well, it was able to draw in a wider range of characters from the cast list as well, because we just had a little handful of cast, and then and with a few sporadic appearances from what's his face, James's boyfriend,
Danny,
a little bit, and then a little bit of Curtis, and a little bit of Emma, not even getting a line. The other thing, I think there was nothing.
Come in at night to film that and get wet, and
I know. I wouldn't say there was anything in this week's that was as good as, say, the moment when Molly died. No. On the live episode with Sally there, and there was some great stuff this week.
That was because that was but that was because it was like, oh god, I can't believe it. Whereas Jenny and Johnny was, I think, the emotional highlight of the week.
We'll come back.
But that was tragic rather than
Yeah, okay. I do want to get to Jenny and Johnny very soon, but I'm just going back to what we were saying about the sets and everything. With all this behind the scenes stuff, and we mentioned the director to follow on Instagram on our last podcast, and then there's this on the ITV website. The Coronation Street Instagram has got it. There's videos, there's clips, there's storyboards, isn't there? Like that cartoon storyboards within the pictures of what it looked like on screen next to it. I want them to release a book of this. I want them to do more. I feel like they've spoiled me already.
Honestly, they could have done a souvenir
they really
magazine.
Could. They really could. One of the things that I liked was the set for the sinkhole, because there's a picture of Jack B. Shepherd and Julia Goulding standing on the edge of this massive precipice, and when they had the sinkhole last year, it was very much a green sheet over the garden of the Blatt's house, and it was all very, very CG'd. But for this, they just had this massive stage studio, didn't they? And they built so much. One of the things in this article on the ITV website said that they started working on everything in March, and they were filming this at the last week of August, beginning of September, roughly. So quite a few months to put all this together, and such an undertaking. 5 tankers of water, over 2 days to fill all the pools, the amount of water they had to pump into this place. 2 whole months to build the sets, it said.
Hang on, but you're talking about all different
This is
things.
the Platt sets, this is the Coronation Street set. It was everything. It was utterly incredible, but all the stuff with Jenny and Johnny was my highlight yesterday. And I think back again to the podcast a week ago where I said, I think I know about 3 out of 10 on what I know this week. I knew nothing about what was going to happen this week. Honestly, it played so differently to what I was expecting, and least of all was I expecting Jenny and Johnny to be swimming around underwater up to their necks in sewer water as the climax of the week, and I loved it. So the story there, we left Jenny on Wednesday having fallen into the sinkhole, and Johnny's climbing into it. He gets down into the water, he's swimming around a bit, calls out for Jenny, finds her, she's broken her arm or something, and then they get washed into like a bit with a ladder where you can climb up to get out of a manhole cover. They hang around there a bit, and the water starts rising, so Johnny gets Jenny on his back, climbs up the ladder, but they can't get out the manhole at the top. They're shouting, but nobody's there. At one point, and this is when above ground, they start levering off the lids of the other manholes, but it's not the right one. Eventually they find out which manhole it is, and while everyone's distracted trying to get that one up, Shona, who was a hero of the day just because Abby's otherwise engaged, goes down the manhole with a rope to try and rescue them. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's ridiculous.
She went, screw it, and went down.
This is Shona. I'm not very good at assessing my own risks at the moment since I
Shona,
got shot in a box.
I've got poor judgment.
This
like
Shona,
canonically poor.
This Shona is great because
finally you're saying
no, but they've eased off her nuts side. When she first came out of her coma and she had that personality transplant, it didn't feel like Shona to me. It felt like she was too much of a child. But I think they've got a good balance here of old and new Shona. I'll have this Shona. But I tell you what, when she went down that sewer, I was like, they're not going to kill Shona, are they? Because Julia Goulding had been uncharacteristically active on Twitter all week actually, and I was thinking, well, why is that?
Press as well.
Yeah, and I was thinking, well, why is that? She's not really in this week. She's just standing on the edge of a pit. And when she went down there, I thought, bloody hell, they're going to kill Shona. They better not, because the thing that I'd wanted on Friday's episode that, to be honest, we still didn't get was a massive twist, rug pulling, death. And I thought they're just going to randomly kill off somebody, because we kind of thought that we saw Harvey and Natasha and Johnny coming. So I was terrified that Shona was going to drown or something. But fortunately she doesn't. She goes down there, throws a rope to Jenny and Johnny, who are back in the water by this point. Jenny ends up swimming underneath, and she's under the water for a good 30 seconds, isn't she? Oh, such amazing stunts, the underwater stunts.
I know. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because I was not prepared for there to be any.
I was not expecting it.
Why are they,
Sally Ann Matthews underwater all that time. And then Johnny's left behind. Now, before Jenny gets to go under the water, she has a little makeup sesh, doesn't she? With her. And by which I don't mean she redoes her makeup again because her mascara's running. Because some people misunderstood when I was talking about the makeup chat last week. And no, they have a little bit of a. Well, Johnny kind of opens up and says, oh, "I'm really finding it hard to see you moving on with somebody else." And he kind of opens his heart to her, and she gives him a big old smackaroo on the lips, doesn't she? And they say they love each other, and she goes off and she gets back with Shona, calls for Johnny through the pipe, but he's not responding, and he's just kind of given up a bit, hasn't he?
Well, he hears
Aidan saying "Dad," and me and you. This is obviously lost on Gemma's parents, as was most of this, to be honest, because they were being very good at watching it with us, and we heard Aidan's voice, and we were like, they brought Shane Ward back. And I was expecting, as I was in the prison scenes earlier this year, honestly, for Johnny to turn around and for Aidan to be there, but he wasn't. And then when they had that scene of Johnny slipping under the water after he says his final "I love you" to Gemma, and he kind of Jenny, he drifts backwards underwater, his lifeless corpse, doesn't he? And I was honestly expecting a ghostly Aidan to be there behind him, and he's like, wrap his arms around him.
Dad.
Yeah, I thought it would be. You wrap his arms around him and pull him into the depths, but no.
It's not. I don't know what happened to Johnny. He just drowned himself.
I think because it didn't appear to be like an MS attack or anything. I think he was just really tired. He's older. He's an older guy, isn't he?
I know, but I wish they. I don't know. I feel like they could have made it big.
He's about my dad's age. He'd been in the water for a long time. He'd been holding on with Jenny on her back, on his back. Yeah, exactly. And I think his. I don't know, because they didn't make it clear enough, did they? But he just died. To be tragic.
I know, but if he had said something, I can't, or you know.
Even, I think, to be honest, I think he used his last ounce of strength pushing Jenny under the water.
I think you're right,
because when they did their 3, 2, 1, and Jenny says, "You got to push me with all your might," and he goes under the water for a little bit there, and we don't really see it, but you must push her, and that took it out of him.
I know.
But I tell you what, though, what a reaction from Jenny. Sally Ann Matthews.
She didn't hold anything back.
She was competing with Sally Carman for the pained wails now, wasn't she?
It was terrible.
Ah!
I know, but it was like, that's what you would do, isn't it?
I know. What more can you do?
Just literally a howl of anguish.
It was.
Like, how could you? Yeah, how could you? If you watched the man you love just die in front of you, and it all just started off like a normal day. What? I don't. Of course she'd scream.
And then how? The episode ends with it was an odd cut, wasn't it? Because it cuts from that straight to Jenny coming out of the tent
with a little foil
blanket on, and then she sees Carla, and Carla knows what's happened.
Well, Carla looks at her.
She kind of can tell.
And and then she's like, no.
I hope that the aftermath of this focuses more on Jenny than Carla. I kind of don't need Carla to be there, and I definitely don't want Kate to come back to his funeral either.
Please don't, Kate.
Oh, sorry, I'm stuck in Bali.
Good.
Virtually appear off screen. Were you generally satisfied with Johnny's death? Do you think he got a good one?
Oh, it was very epic. It was a really, really good send-off for that character, and what a tragic end to that romance.
I know.
It was doomed.
I'm so glad that they made up again.
Right at the end.
If he'd have died, and I mean, we knew he was going to die, didn't we? We saw it coming. If he had died and there was still a lingering question of, but could they get back together again? Could they have, or did they love each other, or had she actually moved on, or all of this? But the fact that they both admitted to each other they loved each other and they got the kiss, I couldn't have been. I don't think I could have been more satisfied with his exit. If he had to go, that it was just pretty perfect for me, honestly.
And Sally Matthews and Richard Hawley both gave amazing performances. So did Julia Goulding. And can you please help me rescue you? You have to help me.
But so let's.
I just want to say that in the last episode of the podcast I was saying, oh well, they're not going to be walking around looking for each other. That'd be silly. They haven't built anything like that. They've just got this one set for them.
Exactly. I thought they just had that little corner set with Abby and Corrie.
But they actually built, and it looked so good.
That was really good. We complained a little bit about the Abby and Corrie set being a little bit too setty looking the other day, didn't we? And I think it was because it was lit a bit more. But being underground...
It's because, I tell you why, it's because there was an obvious line across the front where the set ended and the audience was sitting. And then the rest of it was like in a... What's this shape?
Triangle, kind of. It's a bit of a trapezium shape.
Yeah,
I think you're drawing
like
out in the air there, a bit of an isosceles trapezium. Yeah.
I just wanted to say about this. So, they said in this interview, the ITV interview, that they would have normally just gone and filmed this in the tank, but they needed way more space, so they went to Space Studios, and they got a load of portable or like temporary swimming pools. And then they put all the sets inside the swimming pools and suspended them so that they could make it look like the water was going up just by lowering the set. What a genius idea.
So clever.
So brilliant. And when you actually see, if you go and watch the behind the scenes footage of this, it was, huge. This area and all this stuff is so...
I'd love to have
so
been able
much
to
work
see it.
put into this. Because they filmed it all over the place. They had... First of all, one of the reasons why they had 4 units was because of COVID. Because this is what they said in this little interview on the ITV thing. They said that. What else did they say about where they filmed everything?
I don't remember.
4 different crews all filming with different directors. Before COVID, you'd have one person. So. It's very difficult to coordinate those 4 different units. So if you felt like it was disjointed, maybe that was why. That's the only reason I could think of, because normally one person would oversee everything.
The thing with the I think made the set look so good as well was, I think it was to do with the lighting. I mean, to be honest, I don't really know why it wasn't completely pitch black under there. I don't know where the light source was supposed to be, but
from above.
Through the cobbles.
Where are you talking? Oh,
the Jenny and Johnny set. I don't really get why there was any light there at all, but never mind. Let's not think about that too much. But yeah, it just hid the settiness of it, I think. And if you'd have told me they had been down to some actual sewers to film that, then I would have believed it. It was that good for me.
On Friday, when I first saw the bit where they were looking through the pipes at each other, I was like, where'd they get this from? Where'd they go? Anyway, on this interview it says they had they had scenes shot on the street, scenes in their studios, scenes at Space Studios, and also the ones that were on location.
Yeah. How epic.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And it looks so good.
And 2 crashes, a sinkhole, a sewer,
the bit
a man
where
with a gun.
the bit where Jenny is being pulled by the rope by Shona, that I was like, you kill Jenny. No, you're not killing Jenny, are you? Please, please, please. And I think in the back of my head I knew she wasn't. But I was like, how long have you been underwater here? And it was amazing. It brought back memories of when the Platts went into the canal, didn't it? And they had them all swimming about. And there's been nothing like that in Coronation Street since. And this was that to the extreme, because that was just like a couple of seconds, wasn't it, at the end of the Richard Hillman plunge episode? But this went on. It was just brilliant. I loved it. I really, really loved it.
And it's also like what great sports all the actors were, because when you're on a soap, you really don't think you're going to be doing this. And like maybe one, but like you say, one group of characters every 20 years maybe get to do that.
Well, this is what people are saying, isn't it? Too many stunts. They're trying to grab those ratings and everything,
and all the actors had to wear wetsuits under their normal costumes.
I know. They looked like they had fun. It looked like it was very hard work, but they had fun. There's more behind the scenes footage of them throwing a beach ball around, isn't there? And another one where Sally Ann Matthews gets pranked by a fake poo in the tube that she had to look down.
The other thing I wanted to say was there's 2 camps of ways of looking at this, aren't there? There's like the way we're looking at it, which is 51 weeks or how many stunt weeks there are. Let's just say 48 weeks out of the year. There's not going to be big stunts and a kerfuffle, and it will be a proper kitchen sink drama of people, well, you'd hope, talking through kind of problems that range from the mundane and everyday to the quite outlandish, but it's always handled like, the focus is on the actors and the characters and their interactions with each other. And then so when something like this happens, it feels a bit jarring, and it doesn't feel like the show that the person who's into that wants to watch. But for us, where our perspective is, but it's only like 4 weeks out of the year, and it's so much fun.
It is a lot of fun.
The thing is, it also fuels drama. If it's done properly, it can fuel drama for months to come. Yeah,
exactly. They were just springboard that up until Christmas for sure. And and before long they're going to be back talking about stolen heat pumps and MLM and Daisy trying to get her claws into Daniel and Max being an arse at school. I'd much rather see this than that. I've made no secret of the fact that I've not really enjoyed it. I've not been a massive fan of Coronation Street this year. There's been many weeks where I've thought, that was a bit boring, really. So to be able to get weeks like this, for me, I love it.
What's Leo going to do now? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, what is Jenny going to do? I mean, it feels a bit callous for her to move right on back to Leo again.
She can't, and like is Leo literally there just to be like, to have somebody during Halloween week to go,
stay away from that hole. He needs to be to be dragged up by and put in to his manager's office and go, why didn't you fill that hole sooner? I blame all of this for Leo. If he hadn't pulled his finger out,
because
he'd pulled his finger out quicker.
It's Natasha and the Platts who were supposed to be sorting it out.
That's true. They spent too long umming and ahhing about who's going to pay it, didn't they? Yeah. No, I think that.
Well, this is the thing. This is the programme on TV. Can't pay, we'll take it away.
You can't take a hole away.
No, you can take the street away.
Yes, I think Leo's going to realise that the amount of grief that grieving that Jenny will be doing now. I think
you're right.
He's going to be like,
the amount of grief this woman's going to give me.
He's going to probably try and support her through it, maybe.
I just can't see him.
We know that Leo's not a permanent character. He doesn't come across as that.
The sinkhole was a pretty bad thing. Yeah, I mean, it was only a matter of time, really. Anyway, bye.
As long as she doesn't go back to Uncle Ronnie.
Oh, shut up.
But he seems to be kind of enjoying his time with Debbie at the moment. So I don't know. But I'm mega happy that Jenny Connor, one of our favourite characters, got the centre
I
stage,
really was not
a time in the
expecting her
spotlight.
to get such a massive,
No.
like those two that story and those two characters get, like, basically it was the main story of Friday's episode, and that's what I mean when I say, maybe it's because of the way that we recorded it, and maybe it's because we watched it in two different places, but I do still think that Monday and Wednesdays felt separate to Fridays.
See, I felt like it had joined up nicely to me.
It did join up, but I still feel as though. Well, I said what I said.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No, I beforehand I was wondering, why is Sally Ann Matthews doing all this publicity? Is it just because Johnny's going to die? But when I knew nothing. I knew nothing. It was so good. I feel that we've said everything that we need to say about this, really. Maybe they should have killed off some of the people, but I don't know how they would have fit it in, because it was quite a packed week, apart from a little bit of the pace slowed down a little bit too much on the first episode of Wednesday. No, I was...
No, I think they should have killed some more people off, and I think they should have been braver. But what they've done is made a series of very high octane stunts with not enough dire consequences.
Yeah.
You had a prison van crash into a car. Someone should have died, not just the prison.
Yeah, that poor prison van driver.
You had a man with a gun, and we don't know whether he shot Natasha, but
he did shoot Natasha.
Killed Natasha. You think she's dead? You think she's going to die? I don't.
Oh, they're bloody better.
But she should have died this week.
Yeah.
Each story should have had one death.
I've seen lots of people online saying, "Oh, keep Natasha. She's a brilliant character. They've not really given her enough to do, and now they killed her off." But I'm thinking, no, she is the one that needs to die. She was she was useless in her first stint.
Why are you so mean?
She was. Natasha, the first time she was in Coronation Street, she did nothing. She was memorable for her exit. And this time, again, they have done nothing with her. We do not need Natasha Blakeman. I don't fault her as an actress. I think she's fine. I think she's good. She seems like a nice girl. But we do not need Natasha in this programme. Give her the chop. Let's keep Sam, please. So, and now Leanne can have another child that she can eventually call her son, the same way that she does Simon. She's going to forget that she didn't actually give birth to Simon. And when he gets his master's or his doctorate or whatever, she's like, "I'm so proud of my boy.
Oh, it's my genes."
First Battersby to be a doctor.
Yeah, physics.
So
I wanted to know, how could they have worked in killing Tim?
It wouldn't have happened. Tim was hiding, Gemma, just in case you went to Weatherfield yourself and pushed him in.
Just imagine Sally striding down the road going, "No parking down here, residents only. Get these ambulances out. No fire brigade."
I do wonder what were the other characters doing when all this was happening. Like, nobody emerged from their houses or peeked out the windows to see what was going on, did they?
Here's another point. I wonder what the point of this was. The parking thing. Because we were led to believe that they couldn't move for cars on Coronation Street, yet suddenly they all disappear when people are trying to drive down the road to rescue Jenny and Johnny, and there was nobody was in the way for them to get the manhole covers open.
Maybe they've all been swallowed up by sinkholes.
Tell you what, it would have been cool if we'd had some cars going into the water.
That would have been fun.
I think that would have been a bit expensive.
It felt like they had, whatever budget they wanted, although not quite enough to get some of the CG rain to be as Hollywood as they needed it to be, really. Yeah. Do you think that next week is going to feel like a normal week? Or is it going to be still a little bit special? Because there's still going to be sinkholes all over the place, isn't there, surely? What I'm not looking forward to next week is a load of hospital bed scenes. I never really like those. And I know that you got to have them, but I always find them a bit boring. But, I don't know.
Because Natasha's going to be in the hospital.
Yeah. I'm very looking forward to it. I think
we need to get her into surgery for a personality transplant.
I think we need to finish this now, Gemma, and we need to do a score, and we need to do a character of the week. It's not a 5 from me. as much as, and that might surprise some of you, but I think the fact that some of it was a little bit too contrived and coincidental and a bit silly, and they didn't have enough scenes of dialogue that's going to be memorable and character moments.
The storyline wasn't. It relied too heavily on us, on the actors, and what was this? Yeah, but what was the story like? There was no clever literally anyone could have written the story. I don't want to be mean, but anyone could have written the story for Harvey. He gets in the prison van crashes because he's arranged for the prison guard to open the door. He gets out, he stands on top of the van for no reason at all with his handcuffs on. Then he gets in the van and drives off. He goes to Weatherfield to kill Leanne even though he doesn't need to. He finds her, even though he's supposed to be looking for flipping Toya.
That's what I was going to say. When the thing that was a bit disappointing for me is that Toya and Imran, I said last week, was a catalyst for this week's shows, but they didn't really have anything to do this week.
No, they didn't. And he's like, I've got to get revenge on Toya Battersby. Wait a minute, I don't remember what she looks like. So he goes and he gets Leanne, and then he's like, right, call your sister. And then she's like, text Leanne. He texts Leanne.
No, he texts Toya.
Yeah, like with stupid text. And Toya's like, screw it, let's have a pina colada. Not bother.
Mm.
And then they just never go there. Then she escapes. He follows her.
Toya was having a bit
shoots the wrong person. And then somehow from there gets into her car even though he doesn't know where she is. He thinks he's killed her, so he hides in her car in the passenger seat with his gun, and then she happens to get in the car to drive somewhere and he's like, oh, this is handy, and then he doesn't shoot her. Do you see what I mean? The story felt like an afterthought, and
they knew what they wanted their big set
they knew what they
pieces
wanted
to be, and
to
it's
do,
like, how are we going to join
and
those
they
up?
knew what stunts they wanted, and you're right, and they just went, how do we get this character from here to there?
I did like how he got the gun, as stupid as that was, the fact that he went and
Yeah,
fell down
that's
the
the other thing.
sinkhole
He
and then
fell
the
down
gun
the-
was
Yeah,
happened
that's
to
right.
be there.
I forgot
And
about that
I
bit.
thought that was quite good, but also ridiculous.
It was spectacular, and it was bonkers, and it was larger than life and flamboyant, but it had no logical internal sense.
I think as well, I did think that that shooting Natasha was a great twist, but I wish we hadn't theorised this. And that's,
you spoiled it for yourself.
well, and that's the problem these days when a large enough group
You
of
can't
fans of
complain about
something.
that.
When a large enough fans of something get together to chat about it and theorise, somebody's going to get that theory right, and then you'll go, I think that's what's going to happen actually. But I think
you can't complain about that, because the only way...
I don't think I would have guessed it if I'd not seen somebody else
there
on
are
the
two groups
online
of
suggesting
people.
it.
There's people that just watch it at home and they just turn it on, watch it, turn it off, and then watch something else. And they seem to, on the whole, have enjoyed it more than most people who get super, super into it. But they're writing this show for both groups of people. They can't have, super meta, double twists where the people that have been, writing bloody essays on the internet about what they think's going to happen to Natasha based on the blimmin' phases of the moon. They can't have that. They can't please that group of people and the other group of people. Because the casual viewers are going to be like, I don't know what's it got to do with the fact that it's waxing gibbous. I don't get it.
I think that the Natasha moment, I'd like to have been able to think, waxing gibbon is a bit of a hairy one.
It's going to take ages.
Yeah. If at the time I'd have thought, bloody hell, I think Leanne might be dead, that would have been brilliant, but I didn't. I thought
most people probably did.
It's Natasha. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So this is why, one of the reasons why it's not a 5 for me. So it didn't have all those brilliant scenes of dialogue. It had some. The Jenny and Johnny bit was certainly the highlight, character moment wise for me. I enjoyed all the twists and the surprises, the things that I didn't know that was going to happen. It just wasn't quite there, and maybe the fact that I didn't kill off as many people as they could have done. But absolutely 4.5 for me. I haven't written down any ideas of what I can score it out of, but I'm going to give it 4.5 sewer toupees, which is what Johnny says he felt, and it certainly wasn't a rat as he was floating beneath the cobbles. Gemma?
What character are you going to give it to?
No, what's your score? You going 4.5 or a 4?
I need to give it a 4 because I thought it was great. I thought the stunts were brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I think the Jenny and Johnny stuff was fantastic, but I just think
I'm really surprised I thought you were 4.5.
I just needed more focus on linking things together and why is this character doing this. And I think that unfortunately the catalyst for the whole week was Harvey, and his actions made no sense. If you stop and think about what he did, it didn't make any sense. And I don't want to talk about it too much, but yeah, I thought the stunts were amazing though, and I loved the Jenny and Johnny stuff. I loved the Alahans, I couldn't believe it. What else happened?
Abby and Corrie,
that was pretty good. Yeah, it was all great.
What are you scoring it for?
The
For
other thing
what?
about it
Gemma?
was
for what?
Oh right, Michael.
No, what?
For waxing gibbons.
Okay. What's the other thing you were going to say?
It.
I'm getting a dirty note from Gemma again. Character of the week. It was good work by everybody that was involved. There weren't lots of characters that were involved. So you got all the Alahans, you got Abby, you got Corrie, you got Roy, you got Jenny, Johnny, Shona, you got Leanne, and then I guess Toya and Imran a little bit, and Harvey as
Amy
well.
and Summer.
Yeah, they had a little bit to do, didn't they? So see, before yesterday's episode, I think a lot of people might have said Roy, but then they were disappointed when he had to lie. I don't think I could vote Roy just because it didn't feel like he was a major player in the week. But I'd like to give it to Johnny, as it's his last week, but he didn't have a whole lot to do until the end, apart from foreshadow his impending doom. I don't think there didn't seem like there was any character that was throughout the week, was there? Because even Abby didn't have a whole lot to do on Fridays. I think I will go Johnny. It's the last chance he'll get. I love Richard Hawley. I think he's been fantastic on the show this past 6 years. He's one of these characters that's just a solid, super solid, lovely, nice bloke. And to see his journey, especially since Aidan's death, has been tragic. He went down there in a hole, impending doom, to save his beloved Jenny. He climbs up a ladder with her on the back.
She hurt herself, and he was like, "Don't worry." And then they hung on to the ladder together. See, I thought they were going to get crushed to death.
I didn't know what happened. He opened his heart to her. He gives her a final push. He sees Aidan. Oh.
Well, here's Aidan.
And
isn't it interesting, and we haven't even mentioned this, that obviously one of the symptoms of his MS is that he has auditory hallucinations, and he has seen or heard Aidan before now.
Yeah.
Was that, or was it some kind of divine...
Was it Vera back? Was it a Vera moment?
What? Because ghosts are canon in Coronation Street. I keep saying this, but they are.
I saw one on Wednesday's episode. I don't know who it was underneath the sheet.
But they are, though, aren't they? They are canon in the show. They are. Sorry, deal with it. They are. Was it... And then, if that was Aidan, giving his dad cheer from beyond the grave, was it his dad in prison? Or was it Aidan in prison too?
Yeah, good point.
Was he just being... Does he even have MS? Is he just being haunted? We'll never know.
I want to see the online spin-off of all the Corrie ghosts in the Weatherfield afterlife.
Yeah, just imagine they're all sitting around and suddenly Johnny just goes, "Oh, damn it!" Like, hello.
Yeah. So who's your character of the week?
I can't decide between Jenny and Johnny.
It's really hard, isn't it?
I think I really want to give it to Johnny because it's his last chance, like you said.
That shouldn't be enough, but the fact that he was such a very heroic chap.
Oh, so heroic. I think I'd give it to Jenny for all the screaming and the the wailing and the gnashing of teeth, because that was epic. And that bit where they were looking through the tunnel at each other.
Oh, I tell you what, that person who tweeted the picture of that and said this is what the last Pringle in the can sees, they did very much deserve all the 800 plus likes I think they've got on that.
Yeah.
I wish I'd thought of that. I think that's it, isn't it? I think we're done. I think that is the final actual end. I thought before we started recording this, I was like, well, is this going to be like 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes, over an hour later? And I think we finally reached the end of it, but we had to do it and we couldn't leave it another week to talk about that last episode.
I think, can I just say that another reason I gave it 4 was the CG rain effect. Really felt like it let everybody down. And the
that
other
was
thing
mostly Monday.
Was the Wednesdays was sound.
Yes, that's true.
You couldn't hear anything.
I think that got better. I think the sound on Friday wasn't as much of a problem. No, didn't feel the need to switch the subtitles on Friday.
But to be honest, they were underneath the ground, so there was no rain.
It could have been echoey there.
But the other thing I also want to add in, a lot of people have been saying, oh, wow, they didn't do the rain very well. Why did they have to have the rain? What was it part of the plot for? Like, the rain, as well as Harvey, 2 forces of nature that caused things. Like, the reason why they couldn't hear Jenny and Johnny screaming because it was raining so hard, and you couldn't hear it over this, the sound of the rain. The reason the sinkhole collapsed, rain. The reason why the prison van crashed into the car, the rain, the storm, the tree branch fell, the puncture on the tyre, etc., etc. You had to have the rain in it. It's just really annoying. Who was it that said?
It was Roy. That was when he was trying to avoid Abney's question, saying, "Did you know that it rains more days than it doesn't in Manchester?"
And all the directors, the co-directors, are like, "Shut up, Roy, you absolute arse." I bet you,
Sunshine,
they're filming like all the outdoor scenes. They need rain, and isn't it? It's blazing sun. And then I bet you when they did all the underground sewer stuff in the space studios, it was just hammering it down with rain outside.
I bet it was.
I don't know. It's funny to think.
Right, I think we're done. Thank you everybody for listening. I hope you've been able to hear us. I feel that we're making some.
Maybe we've got the sound problem.
Maybe we do, but I've been quite pleased with myself that I've been able to keep my voice fairly low, and I've not been bursting out in raucous laughter because I didn't want to wake your mum up. Everybody, we're going to be back next weekend with our thoughts on what happened in next week's Corrie. There's not going to be a midweek bonus show or anything this week because we just can't. But if you would like to get in touch with us between now and then with your thoughts on this past week's Corrie or anything related to the Super Soap Week or anything like that, then please do email us at conversationstreet@gmail.com. Give us a follow on Twitter, like some of our tweets, that'd be lovely. We're on YouTube. We're going to put some Halloweeny thing on YouTube this week, so give us a follow and a subscribe and stuff on there. Instagram, Patreon. Thank you all our lovely patrons for your support. We really do appreciate it. And I think that's it. Gemma, any final words?
Fix your sinkholes.
Fix your sinkholes.
Do the responsible
If you get
thing.
a sinkhole in your garden, don't leave it a year to cool the Leo out, because this is what happens.
Don't drink and drive. Neuter your pets. Fix your sinkholes. Those are 3 rules I live by, and they've never let me down.
Turn off your passenger side airbag just in case an evil murderer ends up sitting in there and you want to see him off, Right. See you next week, everybody. Ta-ra for now.
Bye.
Goodbye.